Chapter 100 The Wedding. Thinking of this, in the bottom of Qin Fei's heart, there were still a few small moments of pride. And at this moment in time, the main door was also knocked on. Su Shan's voice also rang out. Father-in-law and mother-in-law, son-in-law Su Shan has come to welcome Tian Tian. Hearing Su Shan's words, this mother-in-law's face, filled with smiles, said, Good, but this door is blocked by Sweetie's sisters. If you want to open the door, you'll have to get through this first. At this time, the mother-in-law, although for the 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms, there were some doubts in her heart. However, the smile on her face was not reduced in the slightest, not in the slightest. After all, 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms. This face, it was completely given. And after the mother-in-law's words fell, the several bridesmaids who were blocking the door then immediately opened their mouths and said, Well, there's one thing, as long as you do as you're told, we'll open the door and let you in. In response, Su Shan was also the one who, in a hurry, said, What is it you guys just say? I will definitely do it. We saw that inside your driver, there is a very handsome little brother. As long as you can take this little brother's microsignal, give us to ask over. We this is immediately, open the door and let you in. With this sentence falling after, everyone's eyes, all of a sudden, focused on Lin Mo's body. On their expressions, they looked a little odd. And inside the house, Qin Fei, who was there, was shocked in her heart. Good fellow. To actually dare to take this kind of approach to hit on her own little brother. Immediately, Qin Fei was the one who squeezed her way to the front. Then quickly, she opened the door to the room. Ka-ching! As the door to the room was opened, the best man swarmed up. At this moment, all the bridesmaids in the room were confused. And then, some manners went by, pastries were served, and tea was offered to the ancestors. After the process is completed, this Su Shan is holding Tian Tian downstairs, into the head car. After Su Shan and Tian Tian were seated in the car, the other bridesmaids began to fight for the last position. However, just as they were scrambling, Qin Fei was the one who went all the way straight through the crowd. Then, pulling open the door of the back row, she directly drilled in. This scene directly made all the bridesmaids completely dumbfounded. Inside the car, Su Shan then smiled and said, Lindsay, this is no need for an introduction. Lin Mo smiled and said, I know, Qin Fei. Saying that, Lin Mo looked in the rearview mirror and said, I didn't expect that the best friend you married today would actually be a sister-in-law. As these words fell, Su Shan and Tian Sweet also froze. You guys know each other? Well, know each other. Qin Fei blushed and nodded her head. This point, in turn, caused Tian Tian, who was in the back row, to ponder. Said, Fei, it wouldn't be. Tian Sweet revealed a hint of bad smile, said. And to this, here's Tian Tian Sweet, is instantly the road. Don't talk nonsense. After saying that, she was hastily changing the topic, saying, Lin Mo, how come you came to drive off? Oh, the 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms here are all lent to Lin Z by me. So, I'm just dropping by, coming to drive this first car. What's wrong with that? A sentence fell. The back row of the Phantom was directly quiet. They had just heard what? The 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms here. All his? This. Qin Fei looked shocked. Even though it was said that she was aware of it, Lin Mo was extremely luxurious. But she hadn't thought that he could actually be as hoity-toity as this. Tian Tian's heart, on the other hand, even more so, set off monstrous waves. The look on her face was filled with dismay. At first, she was still puzzled, where did this Su Shan get the money to be able to go and rent so many Phantoms? But now it seemed this problem was already solved. This car was Lin Mo's. It was his classmate who lent it to him. But when did this Su Shan have such a dirt-poor classmate? And just at this time, the vehicle was also starting to depart. All the way forward. Very quickly, it came to the hotel. This wedding scene is the female side of the layout. So the hotel that was selected, the grade is not bad. With the arrival of this convoy, early is to the scene of the guests. At this time is also some shock. one after another, holding a cell phone, began to shoot. As for Su Shan is holding the bride, is into the hotel. The bride was sent to the backstage to clean up and make up. Then ran to the front hall, began to receive the guests. As for Lin Mo and the others, they went to park the car. After parking the car, they started to go upstairs. After Su Shan settled down the group of drivers, he ran to Lin Mo's side. Lindsay, if you're going to sit at the table of the students inside later. I just looked and the other classmates are pretty much all here. Okay. Lin Mo nodded his head, then he just took out a red envelope and said, "Happy newlywed." Looking at Lin Mo's red packet, this Su Shan was first stunned, and then he just hurriedly said, "Don't, this accompanying gift of yours, I can't accept, you have all out 18 cars. I've taken such a big advantage of you, to accept your accompanying gift again, that would be a bit inappropriate." Listening to these words, Lin Mo smiled. Then just nodded his head and said, "That's fine, then I won't accept the accompanying gift, then you continue to be busy. All right." Saying that, Lin Mo was also walking towards the inside. Sitting down, on the seat of this classmate's table. At this moment, at this table, there were already quite a few people sitting down. Most of them were old classmates that he knew. He greeted everyone and exchanged pleasantries. Lin Mo was taking out his phone, ready to see if there was anything new on the $1 trillion subsidy. However, before Lin Mo could start checking, a voice, however, suddenly rang out. "Yo, everyone is here." As this voice rang out, everyone then just looked up. They only saw a young man wearing a straight suit with a slightly rounded body, walking over. "Yo! Isn't this the eldest class president? Why are you also free to come today? Ha ha! Wang Rui. I haven't seen you since graduation. Class President Wang, long time no see. This suit you're wearing today, it's nice." In an instant, many of the students here stood up and flattered this Wang Rui, was their class president in college. The kind whose family had some money to spare. After graduation, it was into the family's company and became a manager. Only, the relationship between the two people has always been a little bit against each other. Therefore, the intersection is not very deep. With the flattery of the crowd, Wang Rui took his seat. And at this time, this Wang Rui also noticed Lin Mo. He said, "HM? Lin Mo has also come." "That's true, between you and Su Shan after all, the relationship is quite good," said. This Wang Rui just casually asked. "Hey right, after graduating from college, there is no news from you, now where to make a fortune?" Chapter 101, My 18 Rolls-Royce Phantom Wedding Car Today, is Lin Mo out of awe. As Wang Rui's sentence fell, many people on the scene, one after another, just looked at Lin Mo. "Right, the university bully of our class, where is he working now?" "That's right, the university bully couldn't have gotten rich somewhere and hid it from us, right?" For a while, the crowd was also in a flurry, clamoring for it. Lin Mo, on the other hand, smiled calmly and said, "No, I was a while ago, the company I worked for just went bankrupt and closed down. Now, I am at home, purely an idle social person. Every day is also just can only play games at home to muddle through." Lin Mo sat here and laughed softly. After the words fell, many people here were all stunned. On Wang Rui's face, a smile also appeared, saying, "Lin Mo, you can't do this. It's only been a year since you graduated and you've become a social loafer. There's no way you can live in Magic City if you're like this." As these words fell, the others were also in succession, chiming in for the same. While a female student at the side looked at Lin Mo and said, "It's fine, with Brother Mo's education and ability. It's still very easy to find a job." Listening to these words, Lin Mo smiled and nodded his head. And at this moment, that Wang Rui's voice, on the other hand, sounded once again. "Hey, right, Lin Mo, how about this? My family's company is still missing an errand boy recently. A month's base salary of $4,000, at that time I will help you introduce?" With this sentence, many people at the scene all had a playful smile on their faces. A senior student who graduated from Magic City University, going out to run a business for $4,000 a month. This is mocking people. As for the female classmate beside Lin Mo, she was a bit annoyed. She was just about to say something, but Lin Mo pulled her back. Then, calmly sweeping a glance at Wang Rui, he then indifferently said, "No need, I'm doing all right now." A sentence fell. The atmosphere of the scene was somewhat awkward. The female student, on the other hand, said, "No, you just endured through it?" Hearing this, Lin Mo smiled and said, following the crowd, "It's not a crime to compare." At this moment, this female student was not able to continue to say something. At the same time, a classmate then opened his mouth and said, "By the way, if you guys are going to give gifts later, how much do you want to give? Why don't you all standardize your gifts?" On my side, I prepared $800 inside the red envelope. For me, I've prepared $1,000. By the way, class president, how much did you give as a gift? On my side, I didn't give much. It's only $2,000, my one day's salary. Wang Rui said with a careless look. Although it looked like he was talking about the amount of gifts Wang Rui had given himself. But in it, it was a small show-off of his own salary. The result is not surprising. Others have, then is enviously said. Wow, $2,000 only, class president, your day's salary? Envious, ah. Good boy. It's only been a year since you graduated, right? You're making $60,000 a month? I'm afraid the class president is the best person in the class now. Class president, let me toast to you. In an instant. Quite a few people here, one after another, just revealed expressions of envy. After all, only 1 year after graduation, Wang Rui is a monthly salary of 60,000 yuan. This, in the eyes of many people, that can be said, is a very huge wealth. Ha ha. I developed just like that. But if the share of this gift, it's better for you, Lin Mo, to say it. You and Sushan were very close in college. And at that time, Sushan also helped you a lot. How much are you going to pay for his wedding this time? In an instant, everyone's gaze, too, shifted to Lin Mo. But to be honest, Lin Mo, you don't want to give too many gifts. You don't have a job now, do you? If you give too many gifts, I'm afraid you'll have to drink the northwest wind next month. After some words fell, the scene can be said to have issued a burst of laughter. This Wang Rui was not moving, and shifted his attention to Lin Mo's body. And, incidentally, he also secretly stepped on Lin Mo. After all, in this situation, if Lin Mo's amount of accompanying gifts was too low, that was all inappropriate. 3 to 500, that is the next month to drink the northwest wind. This Wang Rui by then can also incidentally, before borrowing Lin Mo to raise their own. As for the 3 or 4,000, that is Lin Mo himself deliberately pretend to be a bully, let other students embarrassed. Anyway, no matter how to do it, this Wang Rui's knife can be ruthlessly inserted. However, at this time, Lin Mo had a leisurely face. Said, "I don't intend to get involved in this matter, you guys can just discuss it yourselves, this time I'm out of the car." A simple sentence fell. But let a lot of people here immediately is for it a meal for this situation. They were not able to think of it. But then, this Wang Rui is snorted with laughter. "Dare you have a car here, hey? Out of the car does not accompany the gift? You think this is the 80s? In his impression, out of the car as a gift, this kind of thing, that is the last century 80s, will only have things. After all, that time the car less. But now, who could still lack the money to buy a car? All of a sudden, many other students at this table, looking at Lin Mo's look, are somewhat contemptuous. And Lin Mo, in response, was too lazy to explain anything. As for the female students there, then it was directly, some disgruntled openly disliked. "No. Wang Rui, how much do you mean? When you were in college, it's okay for you and Lin Mo to not deal with each other. It's been more than a year since you graduated. As soon as you met Lin Mo, you made all kinds of snide remarks. And now, in the name of helping you find a job, you're trying to make a fool out of him? What do you mean, bitchy or not?" After some words fell, that atmosphere here, which seemed a bit awkward, dropped to the freezing point. But just at this time, Xin Feier was the one who trotted all the way over. "Lin Mo, the bride's hand bouquet for later, it fell on your car, you go with me to take it down." "Okay, then I'll accompany you down to get it now." Lin Mo nodded his head. Then it was to follow Xin Feier to leave the table. After retrieving the hand bouquet, the wedding was the official start. All the way through the process, the bride and groom started to toast to the guests. Soon, they came to Lin Mo's table. After the toast, Su Shan was smiling, looked at Lin Mo and said, "Lin Z, I still have to thank you for this today. If it wasn't for you helping to get the wedding car, I really wouldn't have been able to make this wedding happen today." As Su Shan's words fell, everyone at the table was stunned. What did this mean? Without Lin Mo's car, there was still no way to organize the wedding? At once, there were classmates who wondered. "Su Shan, what do you mean by that? If you don't have Lin Mo, you won't be able to organize your wedding?" "It's just a car, if you need one, just rent one." Su Shan froze and said, "A car? What? Didn't Lin Mo tell you guys? My 18 Rolls-Royce Phantom wedding car today was paid for by Lin Mo." Chapter 102, A Classmate Who Regrets It Too Much. Silence. Deadly silence. Everyone at this moment. All of them were quietly looking at Su Shan, their faces stiff and incomparable. The young girl who had previously sat beside Lin Mo. At this moment, her throat, slightly dry, said, "Shan, brother Shan, you're not kidding, right?" Lin Mo he. Looking at the expressions of the group of old classmates here, Su Shan immediately froze. Afterwards, it was with some surprise, saying, "Don't you guys know? My wedding car today, it's all from Lin Mo's company." Company? At this moment, Wang Rui, on the other hand, was a little curious and opened his mouth. "That is to say, this car is not under Lin Mo's name?" "Right." Nodding his head, Su Shan did not refute. And these words fell. Everyone was also relieved. Then, with a renewed, disdainful expression on their faces, looking at Lin Mo who was there, he said, I thought that these 18 cars were all his Lin Mo's." That's it. Shanzi, next time you speak, be more specific. But think about it, he's a poor kid, where did he get the money to afford 18 Mirages? Hey, but Shanzi, what about the company you just mentioned? I remember, just now this Lin Mo didn't say. Didn't he say that the company he worked for just closed down and he's now a hobo? Then, what's this so-called company all about? As these words came out, everyone's gazes were instantly attracted. Su Shan's face at this moment also became more and more odd. It seemed that Lin Mo hadn't said anything to these guys, huh? Under the strange color of his face. Su Shan here, then that is to say. This car is indeed not his, it's his company's. After all, Lin Mo is that company's shareholder. So, it's also correct to say that Lin Mo is a hobo. A few words fell. Everyone froze. Sitting peacefully and quietly, the air seemed to freeze. Everyone, at this moment, was a little confused and stunned. The car belonged to the company, and Lin Mo belonged to the company's shareholders. Then in disguise, this car, too, did belong to Lin Mo. This. For a moment, everyone was at a loss as to what to say. As for Wang Rui above, and the few people who had mocked Lin Mo before, at this moment, their faces were even more red. The look on their faces was as embarrassing as it could be. At this time, one by one they couldn't wait to find a hole in the ground and directly drill into it. After all, before, each and every one of them were still there mocking, saying that Lin Mo was a poor boy. As a result of turning around, people actually became shareholders of the company? This. At this moment, the crowd here only felt a little dizzy. Although they didn't know Lin Mo's company, what kind of company it was. But the other party was actually able to draw out 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms. It was obvious that the assets of this company were definitely at the tens of billions level. Even if Lin Mo was a small shareholder, that's worth tens of millions of dollars. Not to mention, he was able to mobilize 18 Mirages for free. In a company with a market capitalization of $10 billion, a person with this kind of power can't be a minority shareholder. And cannot be a small shareholder? And just now, they were actually still there, towards Lin Mo, sneering and mocking? At this moment, in the bottom of everyone's hearts, it could be said that they regretted it too much. Subsequently, it was also the ones who, one after another, started to turn to Lin Mo, saying, "Ha ha! Brother Mo, you still remember me, right? When we were in school back then, we used to eat together a lot. Come. This cup of wine, Brother Mo, I toast you. Brother Mo. With Su Shan's introduction just now. The crowd here, at this moment. All of a sudden, they were just to Lin Mo, taking turns to toast. Only Wang Rui there, on the other hand, excused himself as having a physical ailment and quickly left the banquet. For this situation, Lin Mo was also gently smiling. These classmates of his own, really are snobbish enough. Previously, when he had behaved like a commoner, each and every one of them had ignored him. Now after their identity was exposed by Su Shan, one is instantly, toward their side to come over to oneself, take turns to toast. In the bottom of his heart, he laughed in contempt. At this time, the female classmate sitting next to Lin Mo, then looked at Lin Mo awkwardly and said, Lin Mo, when did you become so rich? I was saying that before, it's really. Listening to these words, Lin Mo, who was sitting here, smiled faintly and said, I'm not really rich here. Lin Mo's tone appeared to be very casual. But it made the female students who were there. A burst of staggering, said. Boy, if you're not considered rich, then what is? In response, Lin Mo just laughed and didn't say anything. Soon, a wedding banquet ended. After the wedding banquet, Su Shan had other things to do in the afternoon. It was the need to go and entertain the relatives of the woman's family. Qin Fei, on the other hand, needed to go back to mixing the hours of live broadcasting, so the two of them parted ways. Lin Mo drove the car and returned to the group. After sending the car back, Yuan was also the one who came over and picked Lin Mo up at home few. Lying on the sofa, Lin Mo sat paralyzed. This happy drink was really a bit tiring. Holding his cell phone, Lin Mo brushed his WeChat circle of friends. And just at this moment, Xia Yuma also sent a friend circle. He successfully took the second female role in director Chen Kai's Legend of the Demon Cat. Thank you Director Chen Kai for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very grateful to the people who supported me along the way. This also made Lin Mo a little surprised. Even though it was said that Xia Yuma had taken the title in the Magic Theater drama performance. However, her acting skills were just among the middle of the road group. As a result, she was actually able to take the role of the second female? This point, really, was a bit of a surprise to Lin Mo. After all, in a movie with a famous director like Chen Kai, the second female role required more than just acting skills. It also required a certain amount of fame, eh? Right at this moment, Lin Mo suddenly noticed Wang Songsong's friend circle below. It was a poster. After zooming in on this poster, Lin Mo's face looked a bit odd. Director Chen Kai's new work Legend of the Demon Cat. Producer, Trina Film and Media, Beaver Media. At this moment, at the bottom of the poster of this Legend of the Demon Cat, the first place of the investor and producer. The first place of the investing party is Tianhe Group's film and media company. Lin Mo didn't even have to think about it, he could guess. This is definitely Wang Songsong's idea to please himself. This bastard. Really convinced. At this time, Lin Mo, in his heart, also guessed it. Why is it that a newcomer like Xia Yuma, who doesn't have much of a reputation, can take down such a big production movie's female second? This is completely with the capital into the group. And judging by the situation, the funding wasn't low. Chapter 103, Xia Yuma's Celebration Banquet. Under Xia Yuma's circle of friends, after replying with a congratulations, Xia Yuma was just as quick and gave himself a WeChat call. Brother. What's wrong? Nothing, I just miss you. After all, this time the movie, after the start of filming, I still don't know when it will end. Xia Yuma was here, opening her mouth and speaking, with a few moments of despondency between her words. Looking at Xia Yuma's words, Lin Mo smiled and said, It's fine, when filming starts, I'll visit you at the theater if I'm free. Listening to Lin Mo's words, this Xia Yuma's eyes suddenly lit up. Saying, really? Xia Yuma was a bit excited. That's for sure, but for you to take the second female role, it's really congratulations With these words falling afterward. Xia Yuma here also smiled cheekily and said, And hey, It's like a newcomer like me who doesn't have much fame. This time I was actually able to take the second female role in a group of female stars. It's really unbelievable, yeah. Moreover, the second female role of mine is still director Chen Kai's, who has decided on it in one go. Previously, the second female role was given to an actress, Fan Lei, by the assistant director. Then director Chen Kai happened to pass by, after watching my performance. Directly, he gave me the role of the second female lead. Said that I was more suitable for the role than Fan Lei. Speaking of this, amongst Xie Yuma's expression, there were a few moments of excitement. But having said that, Xie Yuma was also a little hesitant, saying, "But brother, do you think I'll be hated by Fan Lei if I do this? After all, this Fan Lei, although it is true that she is a bit out of fashion. But at least, people are also a first-tier big name, I'm just a fledgling newcomer." Listening to this, Lin Mo just smiled gently and said, "Don't worry about it, isn't it just an over-the-top actress? Since people's director Chen has handpicked you, what do you have to be afraid of here?" Said Lin Mo, who was here. Then he just continued, opening his mouth. "Alright, when are you going to enter the theater group?" With these words falling after. "Probably in a couple of days, but tonight, a couple of girlfriends from our dorm room said that they are going to organize a celebration for me. Are you going to come then, little brother?" When Xie Yuma said this, there were a few points of flirtation between her words. This also caused Lin Mo, at once, to have his evil fire rise up. The entire person's mouth was also sucking in cold air at once. Goblin! At once, in the bottom of this Lin Mo's heart, there was a burst of cursing. "After I see you, I'll make sure to make you lie on the ground and call for your father," muttered in the bottom of his heart. Lin Mo's mouth was also full of promises. "That's good, I'll send you the address tonight at 6 o'clock, I'll see you then." With that said, the address was sent over. After that, the two of them chatted for a while. Subsequently, Lin Mo hung up the phone. Immediately, he opened his $1 trillion Subsidy app and began to check out today's new arrivals. With this app being opened, Lin Mo did see the items that were amongst this app. At this moment, there was only one item in this app. Divine Magic Hand. Subsidized price, 99. 9-inch. Divine Magic Hand? Looking at this item, Lin Mo appeared to be somewhat stunned. A skill class item? And at such a high price? At this moment, Lin Mo's eyes flashed with a few shades of anticipation. The previous divine level driving and divine level cooking skills. It was already something that made Lin Mo, for skill class items, have a few moments of interest. At this time, there was another divine level magician. How could Lin Mo not be excited about it? With a little bit of excitement. At this moment, Lin Mo's finger landed on the app purchase successful. The product is being delivered, estimated delivery time, 15 minutes. Please wait for delivery. Sitting on the sofa, Lin Mo waited for 15 minutes. Lin Mo could feel it in his mind. There was a bunch of memories and information that started to surface. This pile of information, just like that, was related to magic. With this pile of magic information and memories, after pouring into Lin Mo's mind, Lin Mo's fingers, at this time, also became very dexterous. For a moment, Lin Mo's heart was also playful. Looking at the deck of playing cards that was placed inside the belly of the coffee table in front of him, Lin Mo took it out, and then casually, started cutting and shuffling the cards. The whole deck of playing cards, as if it was enchanted. In Lin Mo's hands, they flowed randomly, as if they were transformed into a long dragon. Looking at this scene, Lin Mo's eyes lit up. As for Yuan, who was preparing to come over and pour Lin Mo some tea, she was already looking dumbfounded at this moment. Looking at her own boss's dashing and casual movements, her eyes were dumbfounded. As for Lin Mo, seeing this, he smiled faintly. Casually, it was putting away the playing cards. "All right." Lin Mo smiled. "Pour the tea." "Oh, okay." At this moment, Yuan finally was coming back to her senses. "Boss, this hand of yours just now is really excellent." "Is it?" Lin Mo smiled. In the bottom of his heart, he also murmured, "It seems that this divine magic hand is really suitable for tricking girls." As this thought fell, Lin Mo suddenly realized something. With his current equipment, he still needed to use this hand to cheat? casually drive a Cullinan to a university town and set up a pulsating bottle. At this moment, the corners of Lin Mo's mouth then just burst, rising for it. However, this thing isn't useless, at the very least it's very suitable for pretending. Shaking his head, he laughed lightly. At the same time, this Lin Mo for the future, app can refresh out what good things, is also more looking forward to. Sitting at home, Lin Mo played with his cell phone. Waiting until 5:30 in the evening, this is towards Xiaoyuma, sent himself that address, ran all the way there. When Lin Mo arrived at the barbecue city. Inside a private room in this barbecue city, several girls in Xiaoyuma's dorm room were already sitting here. After seeing Lin Mo's arrival, the faces of these few girls also carried a few moments of excitement. And then, the celebration party officially began. Time passed little by little. When the food was almost done, one of the girls went out to use the restroom. When she came back, she was followed by 4 people. As these 4 people came in, Lin Mo also looked up. And when he looked up, Lin Mo's face color was a little wonderful. Inside these 4 people, there was this one person that he recognized in, today at noon, just met. Just like that, he was the Wang Rui who ran away from the wedding banquet. However, now Wang Rui is obviously only a follower. In front of him, there is a man. This man was dressed in a famous brand, with a few moments of arrogance on his face. Xiaoyuma's face, after seeing him, was also a little less than pretty. Chapter 104, Qin Hao. Darkening her face, Xiaoyuma gritted her teeth and said, "Qin Hao, why are you here?" Hearing these words, the condescending youth in the lead, on the other hand, laughed lightly and said, "I didn't happen to pass by here and met Shaoli. Shaoli told us that you guys are here, having a celebration banquet? So, this is me coming uninvited, together, to give you you come to celebrate your success?" After a few words fell. Xiaoyuma's face, at this time, was also becoming more and more ugly. But on the contrary, she was not in a good position to lash out after all. What he said was that he had come over to help himself celebrate. If one were to make an issue of it, that really is here to offend people. Can only Blackface smiled and said, "Since you have come, then sit down." With the fall of these words, this Qin Hao immediately, then, sat down. Then, there, he smiled and opened his mouth. "First of all, of course, congratulations, you this time in one fell swoop. Taking down director Chen Kai, the second female role in the movie." Qin Hao glanced at the tabletop, which was basically all drinks. Afterwards, it was to speak. "What drinks? Since we're out to celebrate, we definitely need to be happy, right?" With that said, this Qin Hao was the one who continued. "Come on, drink directly." After saying that, he was directly, from the side, carried out a mention of beer. In passing, he opened it and poured 2 cups full. At the same time, he handed one of the cups to Xiaoyuma, saying, "Come on, Yuma, this cup is my toast to you. The first time you starred in a movie, you were the female second in director Chen Kai's movie. Yuma, your future, it's unlimited." This Qin Hao's face was full of smiles. After the words fell, Xiaoyuma's face was still somewhat less than favorable. Looking at the cup of wine that was handed over, he then spoke. "I'm really sorry, I don't want to drink today." A sentence fell. This Qin Hao's face, vaguely is some ugly. And on the side, the girlfriend who had previously brought Qin Hao and the others in. At this time, she also whispered, "Umo, what are you doing? This is young Master Qin toasting you, hey. Why don't you hurry up and drink it? How can you refuse? If you drink it and follow young Master Qin later, then where is the need to mix with the entertainment industry? This girlfriend in Xiaoyuma, not a dormitory. Therefore, some of the things about Xiaoyuma were not very clear. Although she knew that Xiaoyuma had recently met a rich second generation, but in her opinion, that second generation rich guy was just a guy who drove a sports car. The specific strength, compared to Qin Hao, that completely cannot be a level. Another, know the truth of the dormitory girlfriends. At this time, the face color, but some odd. As for Xiaoyuma, listening to his girlfriend's words, at this time, his face, on the other hand, was somewhat less than pretty. And then, it was also calmly said, "Shaoli, if you want to drink so badly, then you can drink this cup of wine yourself." You. Shaoli's face stiffened. It was completely unexpected that Xiaoyuma would actually say that. While Qinhao, who was there, was smiling at this moment, saying, "That's fine, since you don't drink if you don't Yuan, drinks are fine." With these words after the words fell, Xia Yuma remained indifferent and said, "Young Qin, firstly, we are not familiar, please call me by my full name. Secondly, I am truly not interested in drinking this cup of wine with you." A sentence fell. Here, Qinhao's face was filled with stiffness and embarrassment. At the same time, in the bottom of his heart, there were a few moments of anger. And before he could continue to say something, at this moment, Lin Mo's voice also rang out leisurely. "Qinhao, right? Didn't you hear that my family, Yuma, has said that she's not interested in drinking this cup of wine with you? If there's nothing else for you to do, then I'd also like to trouble you to go out first. Don't continue here, disturbing us, having this celebration banquet." A few words fell. Here, Qinhao's face was somewhat annoyed. Looking at Xie Yuma, who was sitting there with a few smiles on his face, the expression gradually appeared a little cold. On what grounds? This guy, on what grounds could he shout at Xie Yuma so intimately? As for the three people following behind this Qinhao, at this time, they also noticed Lin Mo. Previously, Lin Mo had been sitting in a position that was relatively inward, therefore, it was also ignored. And the moment they saw Lin Mo, Wang Rui, who was there, his body trembled violently. On his face, he also brought on a few moments of trepidation. Why, this guy would appear here? Earlier, at Su Shan's wedding banquet. After he left on an excuse, he went home and checked the information of the 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms. He learned that these 18 Rolls-Royce Phantoms belonged to the Yangda holding group. And recently, there is a person surnamed Lin, acquired 10% of the shares of Yangda Holdings. After thinking about all this, Wang Rui also understood that the so-called Lin shareholders, it should be Lin Mo. And this Yangda Holdings is the magic city of a market capitalization of 10 billion giant company. Lin Mo is holding 10% of its shares. This kind of existence, how can one offend? Thinking back to the previous wedding banquet, his own mockery of Lin Mo, Wang Rui's face suddenly turned white. And at this moment the other two followers shouted angrily at Lin Mo. "Why are you talking to young Qin?" With this followers roar. This Qinhao, on the other hand, waved his hand, a few moments of coldness swept across the bottom of his eyes and said, "No harm done, I wonder who this brother is." Lin Mo. Xia Yuma faintly said. Two simple words, without too much introduction. But the implication between its words, but the meaning of it, was self-evident. For a moment, in the bottom of this Qinhao's heart, he was also getting more and more irritated. His eyes narrowed slightly as he opened his mouth. So it's Mr. Lin, then I wonder what Mr. Lin's family does? The family is in a small county in the countryside, doing a little business. Lin Mo calmly said. With the instant these words fell, in the bottom of Qinhao's heart, he grew more and more disdainful. But on his face, he still wore a smile and said, "Hee, that's so, but since between Mr. Lin and Mo, the relationship is good, then in the future, if Mr. Lin is in the Magic City and encounters any difficulties, he can look for me to help." In response, Lin Mo smiled lightly and said, "In that case, then it seems that you are quite powerful in this Magic City?" At that moment, behind a follower condescendingly said, "That's natural. Our Qin Xiao is well known in Magic City. Chen Yuan Jewelry is their Qin family's property. Now it has opened its 10th store. It can be said that young Qin's family's industry is spread throughout the entire Magic City." Chapter 105, This cup of wine, I dare to toast, but do you dare to drink? With the fall of these words, Xiaoli, who was there, her eyes fiercely just lit up. Looking at Qinhao, who was here, she said, "Wow! Qin Xiao's family's industry, this has already opened up to the 10th store? This industry of Qin Xiao's family, it's really getting bigger and bigger. It feels like it won't take much longer, the entire jewelry industry in Magic City, the biggest is Qin Xiao your family, right?" In the bottom of Xiaoli's eyes, there were a few moments of excitement, and beside this Qinhao, another youth, at this moment, was also quite arrogant. "That's natural, young Qin's family, I'm sure it won't be long before they can dominate the jewelry world of Magic City. Also I remember, this 10th store, it should be young Qin, you are personally in charge of it, right?" As these words fell, Xin Hao, who was there, his face filled with a smile at this time, said, "That's right, this tent store is indeed my own, personally in charge of, the location then on the third floor of the IM building. At that time, ladies, if you go to my store, buy jewelry, then you can mention my name, at that time to give you 20% discount." Accompanied by this sentence fell after that Shaoli could be described as a burst of cheers, saying, "Wow! Young Qin is really too generous. And I recently happened to be ready to buy a new necklace as well. When the time comes, then, I will definitely go over and support young Qin's family's industry." As for the other girlfriends, at this time, they were just wearing a shallow smile, not thinking. At the back, Wang Rui, who was watching this scene. At this time, his face, on the other hand, looked a little stiff. Looking at this group of people bragging about Qin Hao, the entire person did not know what to go and say. After all, he was aware of Lin Mo's details. The other person was in existence worth at least $2 to $3 billion. The other party alone could crush the entire Qin family. This, how could he blow it? And there was Lin Mo. On the other hand, his face was a little weird. This Qin Hao's home, the tent store, was in the IM building? This, isn't it a coincidence? This IM building, it seems like it's his own property, right? At this moment in time, Lin Mo's expression became more and more bizarre and teasing. And at this moment, this Qin Hao also looked at Lin Mo and said, "Then I don't know Mr. Lin, where is he now in his high position?" "Me? I can't talk about it, I made a little money before. Then it was just random, doing a bit of investing and money management." Listening to this, Qin Hao's face, the smile was even more unrestrained. Immediately, it was then said, "Having earned over $100,000 after graduation, doing a little bit of investment in financial management is indeed something that should be done. But when it comes to financial management, I remember Wang Rui, your family is doing financial management, right?" Saying that, Qin Hao was looking towards Wang Rui at that instant. It was to see, there, the pale-faced Wang Rui. For a moment, the expression was also confused. "Wang Rui, what's wrong with you?" Nothing, just a bit uncomfortable today." Wang Rui hurriedly shook his head. "Is that so?" Glancing at Wang Rui suspiciously, Qin Hao said. However, this Wang Rui didn't go much deeper. Continuing on, he said, "Come on, Shaolin, this Wang Rui's family's financial management company also has some weight in Magic City. If you want to manage your money in the future, you can look for their family, and it will definitely make you earn a lot of money." In response, Lin Mo had a few, somewhat playful smiles on his face and said, "Is that so?" Seeing Lin Mo with such an attitude, this Qin Hao's face was also a bit huffy. Immediately, he was cold and said, "How do you talk? I say, Lin Mo, this is not how to behave. Since you want to find Wang Rui and his family in the future, to help you with your financial management, then you should at least stand up and give the other party a toast, right? If you don't know the rules, how can you continue to mix in society in the future?" This sentence came out. Shaoli next to him also followed, mocking Lin Mo. "That's it. Thinking that just because you've earned a little bit of money, you can be unselfish? Also really don't know what Yuan did today to bring this guy here." Hearing this, Xie Yumo was just about to have a fit, but she saw Lin Mo's calm demeanor. At that moment, she revealed a thoughtful look. Lin Mo didn't have much of a reaction to Qin Hao's words. But Wang Rui, who was there, almost didn't fall down from his chair. Cold sweat swished out behind his back. The entire person hurriedly said, "No. No need." Qin Hao's expression revealed a few moments of doubt as he turned to this Wang Rui and opened his mouth to ask Wang Rui, "What's wrong with you?" Wang Rui rolled his throat, revealing a smile that was even uglier than crying. He said, I'm not feeling too well today. I also took some cephalosporin on the way here, so I can't drink." "Is that so?" Looking at this Wang Rui's appearance, even though Qin Hao still had doubts. But he didn't go deeper into it either. Wang Rui, on the other hand, was relieved. In the bottom of his heart, he was even cursing at this Qin Hao with a burst of anger. Why did this bastard drag himself into his own death? Letting Lin Mo give himself a toast? It's really not good enough for him to think of it. After all, If Lin Mo really gave himself a toast. If he drinks the wine, he'll have nothing to eat. Then one's own absolute was to have no good fruit to eat. Xin Hao, on the other hand, laughed and said, "By the way, let me introduce you all. This is magician Mo Pang." As the words fell, behind this Xin Hao, a young man who looked, well, in his early 20s, then just stood up. Mo Pang's words can be said to be the most promising magician in the country at the moment. At only 21 years old, he's already been on the Spring Festival Gala 3 times, and he's even been accepted as a disciple by Magic Master Jerd. As these words fell, a few moments of surprise surfaced on the face of one of the girlfriends. Jeld's disciple? My goodness! Is it that Jeld, one of the world's top 10 magicians? So powerful? So much to look forward to. Mo Pang, who was there, also had a smile on his face at this time, said, "I'm glad to be able to participate in this celebration. Next, I'll do a little magic trick for everyone." Speaking of this Mo Pang turned to the crowd and opened his hands in a slight gesture. After the crowd had determined that there was nothing in this Mo Pang's hands, the palms of his hands then just shook violently, swish. Instantly, a small cloth pocket was all of a sudden appeared in his hand. Wow! How did this bag come out? That's right. Where was this bag just now? I didn't see it at all. Oh my god. How did this happen? With this hand of magic. Inside the private room, all the girls, all of a sudden, they were attracted to it. And one by one, just let out exclamations of surprise, as well as a glow of adoration. However, all of this fell in Lin Mo's eyes, but it appeared a bit inadequate. The corners of the entire person's mouth surfaced a few scornful smiles. With regards to this set of operations of Mo Pang, perhaps indeed, it was possible to fool little girls. But in terms of him having a divine magic hand, all of this, that was completely insufficient to look at. Chapter 106. The problem is, that watch is real. And at this time, Mo Pang there is always on the face, with a few smiles. Said, "This bag in my hand is a magic pocket. It leads to a subdimensional space. No matter what is put in it, it can disappear." A sentence fell. All of the girlfriends also revealed a look of surprise, saying, "This? A lie, right? Yeah, how could such a thing happen? This bag definitely has a mechanism. Maybe it has a hidden pocket or something inside." After a few words fell, Mo Pang, who was here, also had a smile appearing on his face, saying, "On this point, you guys can rest assured. If you don't believe me, you can check this cloth bag in my hand." Said. This Mo Pang was handing the cloth bag in his hand to Xiaoyuma, who was there. At this time, Xiaoyuma was also attracted by Mo Pang's move. Subsequently, it is also the cloth bag turned over. Checked the inner structure of this cloth bag. As a result, but not a single mouth was found. Looking at this scene, Mo Pang was also smiling, saying, "Then next, I need an audience member to cooperate with me." Saying that, this Mo Pang just looked around. And when he saw Lin Mo, this Xin Hao was faintly and unnoticeably nodding his head instantly. Mo Pang was then speaking. "Then, next, please ask this Mr. Lin to cooperate with me in the performance." Hearing these words, everyone was stunned. As for Lin Mo, who was here, at this moment, in his heart, he was also laughing coldly. Saying, "Heh, little sample. Teaming up with others in front of me, preparing to trap me? I'd like to see, this time, just who is going to pit who." Thinking of this, Lin Mo also just stood up and walked forward. Looking at this Mo Pang, he said, "Alright, no problem, I'll cooperate with you. But I want to ask you, how do you need me to cooperate with you?" Listening to this, Mo Pang, who was there, just swept a glance at Lin Mo's body and said, "Let's put it this way, you take off this wristwatch on your wrist and put it in this bag." At this moment, Lin Mo's face, with a few moments of eccentricity. He said, "Are you sure? I have to tell you, the price of this wristwatch of mine is not cheap. If you lose it for me, this price, you can't afford to lose it." As these words fell, Xin Hao, who was on the side, then glanced at the wristwatch on Lin Mo's wrist. At that moment, it was revealing a disdainful expression, saying, "Ha! It's just a high imitation of Roger Dubuis RDDBX0406. If this is really given lost, I will accompany you a pieces. In his opinion, Lin Mo was nothing more than a. He had graduated a year ago, and was just an ordinary person who had a little bit of luck. How could the other party have the money to be able to buy a high-end luxury watch like Roger Dubuis? Not to mention, this King Series RDDBX0406 watch, that was worth $2 million of existence. And Xiaoli, who was there, at this time, snorted and said, I didn't expect that it was actually a high-fashion watch. This vanity, also too big, right? For this Xiaoli's words, Lin Mo was completely ignored. Just on his face, a few smiles appeared and said, Are you sure? If this watch is lost, you'll pay for it. Ha! On this Qinhao's face, the contempt was a few points thicker. Said. Ha! This watch of yours is indeed a good imitation, but the total price won't be more than 5,000. If this table is really lost at that time, I will give you compensation according to the price. Qinhao's tone was full of disdain. Okay, this is what you said. Lin Mo nodded his head and said. Then, it was taking off the wristwatch and handing it to that Mo Peng's bag. And then this Mo Peng was fainting, and threw the wristwatch inside this black cloth bag. Immediately, he pinched the bag tightly and shook his hand violently. But in this instant, Lin Mo's divine magic hand was instantly performed. The palm of his hand was like a residual shadow. Quickly, in Mo Peng's sleeve, he took out the wristwatch. And after that, it was hidden in his sleeve pocket. For all this, Mo Peng was completely unaware. He was still there, showing off his empty pockets. As for Lin Mo, he stood on the sidelines, looking like he was watching the show. Spinning around, he calmly said, Alright, now where's my piece of wristwatch? Time to return it to me? A watch of a few $1,000s is just a watch, look at your anxious appearance. Next to him, Qinhao shook his head and said, Alright, Mo Peng, you change back and return it to him. Okay. Mo Peng nodded. Immediately, the entire person just took a deep breath. The palm of his hand grabbed the mouth of the cloth bag from above. Phew. Then, blowing out a breath, he said, Now is the time to witness the miracle. The words hadn't even finished. This Mo Peng, on the other hand, was completely flustered. Said this. Touching his body. Mo Peng more and more panic. Where is the watch? What about the big piece of watch? Just now, it was clearly still on the body. How? Just such a short time, the table is gone? Looking at such a look, Mo Peng. Qinhao frowned and said, Mo Peng, what's going on? At this moment, a few unpleasant premonitions surfaced in Qinhao's heart. It couldn't be that. This Mo Peng had smashed his performance. Obviously, before, he was still can vigorously brag about this Mo Peng. If he gave the performance smashed. That is not, in the face of their own. At this moment, Mo Peng is already anxious to cry, said. Qin Xiao, the table is missing. At this moment, Qinhao also froze. As for Lin Mo, he was still, in an unhurried manner, saying. The watch is missing? Oh, young Qin, I remember what you said before. If my watch is lost, you will pay for it at the price right. Ha! Yes, that's right, isn't it just $5,000? If this watch is lost, I'll just compensate you for it. $5,000? Lin Mo snorted, then shook his head and said. Who told you that this watch of mine is $5,000? With the instant these words fell, Qinhao's face stiffened. Subsequently, saying, What do you mean? A youth behind him, on the other hand, frowned and said. Could it be that are you planning to blackmail someone? At this time, Xiaoli also snorted and said. He. Young Qin, maybe in the eyes of others. That piece of watch, he still really took it as real? The moment these words fell, Lin Mo, on the other hand, said with a clouded expression. The problem is, that watch is real. A sentence fell. Everyone was directly confused. As for this Qinhao, his face also changed and he said. Kid. You have to talk about evidence. Can't you say it's true, is true? Evidence, of course there is. Do not believe you can call to Roger Dubuis store manager Joe for proof. Just ask if there is a person called Lin Mo who bought a piece of this watch from him. Chapter 107, Lifting a Stone and Stoning Your Own Feet. Lin Mo's tone was flat. There wasn't the slightest ripple to speak of. However, it made Qin Hao vaguely feel that something was not good. After all, Lin Mo's appearance was really a bit too emboldened. But then, this Qin Hao still murmured. Impossible, there's absolutely no way he can afford to wear a wristwatch of this grade. Bluff, yes, this guy is definitely just bluffing. Qin Hao murmured continuously in the bottom of his heart. The gaze and look under his eyes were also gradually beginning to look determined. Ha! Although I don't know. How did you know that the store manager of this Roger Dubuis is surnamed Joe? But like you, this kind of body is wearing a high imitation. The guy who is bluffing here also wants to fool me? As these words fell, this Qin Hao's lapdog and the two Shaoli there, also one after another, mockingly said, "Ha! So it's a bluff." That's right. Young Master Qin, hurry up and call store manager Joe to expose this liar's lies. Listening to these words, Qin Hao nodded his head, then laughed coldly and said, "I'll break down your lies right here in front of you, Mo." Said. It was then that he took out his cell phone and dialed store manager Joe's number at the same time. The speakerphone was turned on. Beep. After the phone rang twice, store manager Joe's voice, that is, rang out with it. "Hello, which one?" On this Qin Hao's face, a few smiles instantly surfaced as he said, "Hey, store manager Joe, I'm Qin Hao." Qin Hao? Joe Siming, the opposite Joe store manager, first froze when he heard this name. After pondering for a moment, it was also the one who reacted and said, "Oh, so it's young Qin, nice to meet you. Young Qin gave me a call today, is he preparing to book a watch?" Instantly, Joe Siming piled a smile on his face. Despite saying that, this Qin Hao hadn't bought much of a watch from himself. However, the volume of his family was placed there. Therefore, for Joe Siming to see, if you were to make him happy, maybe the other party is happy by a few $100,000 of wristwatches? Qin Hao, on the other hand, hurriedly said, "Ha, next time, this time, I called store manager Joe because I wanted to ask store manager Joe about something." With these words, after falling, Joe Simings instantly was skimming his lips, saying, "In that case, then I wonder, what exactly is it?" Despite Joe Siming's heart carrying a few points of displeasure, he still spoke. Qin Hao sneered in his heart. Then, it was to glance at Lin Mo. Looking at Lin Mo, who was still sitting there with a clouded look on his face. Unavoidably, he frowned. This guy is also too capable of pretending, isn't he? Until now, it was still such a cloudy and light appearance? The bottom of his heart was strange, then he still snorted coldly. Just as well, there will be no tears until we see the coffin. Subsequently, opening his mouth. I wish to ask, did your store recently sell out a piece of RDDBX0406 from the King series? This sentence came out. Joe Siming on the other end of the phone was first stunned. But then, it was the one who spoke, that's right. This wasn't even a big secret in the watch circle anyway. Therefore, he also just admitted it in a big way. This time, it was Qin Hao's turn to freeze. Immediately, trembling, he said, That person who purchased the wristwatch. Name, isn't it called Lin Mo? And, a young man in his early 20s? At once. This Joe Siming was a little excited, saying, You, how do you know this? Joe Siming was a little nervous. One must know that Lin Mo was the VIP of their store. This kind of information was top secret. Could it be that the VIP information of their own store had been leaked out? Of course, Joe Siming did not answer positively. However, the meaning of it was already completely clear. It was also at this moment. Inside the private room, it exploded. Qin Hao and the others were completely dumbfounded. That watch actually is not high imitation? Is real? At this moment, Qin Hao panicked. Mo Pang also panicked. And there's Xia Yuma. At this moment, she also said to introduce you guys again, this Lin Mo. It's the brother that I, before, sent out a friend circle. With these words falling after Xiaoli, who was there, at this time was a burst of vertigo. This. What a joke. He has always been the object of ridicule. Actually. Is Xiaoyuma, the super god of the evening? In an instant. In the bottom of Xiaoli's heart, she regretted a lot. More so, she couldn't wait to directly smack herself two big mouths. At this moment, Lin Mo also stood up, walked over, took Qin Hao's phone, and said, Store manager Zhou, it's me, your customer's information has not been leaked. It's only this Qin Hao, who suspects that the watch on my wrist is fake. So, I asked him to give you a call to prove that my watch is real. This time, Zhou Siming was relieved. He said, so that's how it is, then I'll give Mr. Lin a testimony. Mr. Lin's watch is absolutely genuine, and I personally delivered it to him. These words fell. This Qin Hao swallowed, then, squeezing out a smile, he said, Mr. Lin, this might be a misunderstanding. Only, at this moment, Qin Hao's heart was already filled with irritation. For Lin Mo, he had already cursed away in his heart. It was even more determined. Lin Mo was punking him. Obviously the wristwatch on his wrist was a real one. But he didn't say it out loud. Letting himself step into this pit. This Lin Mo was definitely, deliberately punking himself. Misunderstanding? Oh, whether it's a misunderstanding or not, we'll talk about it later. But I remember, Qin Xiao said it before. If my watch is lost, will give me the price of compensation. I don't want more. When I bought this watch, it was for $2 million. Young Qin, please compensate me at this price. Qin Hao gritted his teeth. Then, looking angrily at Mo Peng who was there, he said, Why don't you hurry up and find it? Mo Peng had a jolt, and then was putting his own body, looking all over. Finally, revealed a bitter look, said, Can't find it. Then pay for it, I guess, young Master Qin, you aren't too bad with this 4 million plus. Lin Mo was there with an indifferent expression and said. This time, Qin Hao completely panicked. On his face, there were a few moments of misery. If it was a few $100,000 of watch, one would just lose money. But a 2 million watch. He estimated that he would have to ask for money from his family. And, once this money is asked for, then they are really finished. Lin Mo at this time is also continued, said. At the very beginning, I reminded you that you can't afford to pay for this watch of mine, and at that time you didn't believe it yourself. To be honest, you even ask Wang Rui behind you, can know this table exactly, is not fake. As soon as this sentence fell, Qin Hao fiercely looked at, on the pale Wang Rui. The eyes, as if they could eat people. Chapter 108. This I am all, but also really my family to open the. Qin Hao stared at Wang Rui with a few moments of anger in his heart since this Wang Rui had recognized Lin Mo earlier, why didn't he speak out to remind himself? At the same time, Qin Hao also figured it out. Earlier, when he had asked Lin Mo to give Wang Rui a toast. Why did this Wang Rui, his expression looked so terrified and uneasy? At this moment, Wang Rui's body was shaking like sifting chaff. The expression was bitter and incomparable. He was not expecting that things were like this, and actually implicated himself. But, still in a small voice, said. Qin Xiao, I recognize. He is my college classmate. Is also a shareholder of Yangda Holdings. This time, Qin Hao's face changed color. Yangda Holdings. It was a giant corporation in Magic City. The family's Qian Yuan jewelry, in front of it, was a younger brother. At this moment, Qin Hao's expression was filled with bitterness. The original dissatisfaction with Lin Mo also disappeared without a trace. After all, he knew. In terms of the other party's identity, it was by no means a second generation like himself that could go and offend. Lin Dong, you see this matter? Glancing at the other party. Lin Mo's expression was indifferent. And Qin Hao just smiled bitterly and said. This amount of money, I indeed can't come up with it for the time being. How about this? I'll give my family a call, what do you think? Originally, Qin Hao indeed did not want to make it so that his mom and dad knew about it. But in this situation now, it would be difficult for his own mom and dad, even if they wanted to not know about it. As soon as possible, I still have to continue on my side, and organize a celebration banquet with Yuan. Lin Mo waved his hand and said, yes. After giving a bitter smile, Qin Hao was the one who quickly started to make a phone call to his parents. This Qin Hao's parents, after hearing the exact amount, at that moment, the color of their faces changed. Just ready to curse a couple of sentences, after hearing Lin Mo's identity. They no longer continue to complain. He hurriedly drove here. As for Lin Mo, he sat down. After taking out his cell phone and sending a message to Huang Yuan. Then he quietly ate the barbecue, and the crayfish that Xie Yuma peeled for himself. Inside the private room everyone, at this time, was quiet. Until a quarter of an hour later. This private room door was also pushed open. A middle-aged man with a big belly, followed by a noblewoman. The two walked in. This middle-aged man, after looking around, a circle one. Then he just laughed out loud and said, ha ha. Mr. Lin, long time no see, my humble self, Qing Nantian. Saying that, he also quickly walked to Lin Mo's side, stretching out his hand towards Lin Mo. Lin Mo, on the other hand, was still eating crayfish here, and the barbecue skewers in his hands. For a while, the atmosphere was somewhat stiff and cold. Qin Nantian's face was also a bit unable to hang on. He, at least, was also the chairman of Qian Yuan Jewelry. This kind of identity could also be considered honorable within the Magic City. However, this Lin Mo actually will he hang himself out to dry? Continuing to eat barbecued crayfish as if no one else was there? Even if you're a shareholder of Yangda Holdings, you can't treat yourself like nobody's business, right? In an instant, this Qin Nantian's face, slightly gloomy. The noblewoman there, her face was also a little unsightly. But looking at the Qin Nantian who didn't open his mouth, also didn't say anything. Just some heartache, looking at her own son. Checking the body of their own son, there is no injury will crayfish and barbecue, after finishing. Lin Mo was not slow and unhurried, unwrapped the wet towel and wiped his mouth. Then, slowly said, phew, finished eating. At this time, Qin Nantian also revealed an ugly smile and said, now, between us, we can talk about business, right? There's no need to talk much, your son boasted before. My wristwatch, if it is lost, that is the original price for compensation. Now that it's lost, that's for 2 million, not a penny more, not a penny less. Lin Mo's tone was calm. But in Qin Nantian's ears, it made his face a little ugly. At this time, he could not wait to smoke his son to death. This son of a loser. This loser. To know. Qian Yuan Jewelry is indeed a large jeweler in Magic City. But this time, life is very bad. Recently, in the jewelry market in Magic City, there are several overseas brands to kill. And, hard from Qian Yuan Jewelry, cut away a piece of meat. In order to maintain their own profits and market. Only a few days ago, invested a sum of money, took the IAP Mall store currently, just paid a deposit, ready to sign the contract. So to speak. Their Qin family's account, right now, really didn't have much money left. That is, 10 million or so assets that can be utilized. And now, if the compensation out of 2 million words, Qin family will be in a very embarrassing situation. At this time, Qin Nantian just smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Lin, just now that was all childish nonsense. This issue of compensation, should we no longer discuss it? Lin Mo's eyes, at this time, were also slightly narrowed. And at this time, his cell phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and looked at it. It was a message from Huang Yuan. The message inside was clearly the current recent situation of the Qin family in an instant. In the bottom of this Lin Mo's heart, he also let out a cold laugh. And after that, looking towards Qin Nantian slowly said, I'll say it one last time, 2 million, not a penny more, not a penny less. At the end of his words, Lin Mo's tone appeared a bit cold. At this moment, Qin Nanshan's expression appeared stiff and embarrassed. While the noblewoman at the back, at this time, she was a little annoyed. Said, Lin Mo is it, not just a small shareholder of the group. Can come as to give you face, really think we Qin family afraid of you not all? I'll tell you, today, even if we go directly, it's no big deal. The noblewoman's tone, for Lin Mo, that is full of disdain. And for this noblewoman's words, Lin Mo was dumbfounded for a moment. Immediately, shaking his head, he said, the Qin family's lady, this is what she looks like? It's really a bit ridiculous to the extreme. My lady's attitude, that's my attitude, so Mr. Lin, either we have a good talk. Either that, I can only say sorry. Qin Hao was here, speaking slowly. After all, although Lin Mo was a shareholder of Yangda Holdings, but their Qin family, too, was not a vegetarian. Is that so? Lin Mo let out a light laugh. Then it seems that there's no point in talking about it. Said the Lin Mo, who was here, also picked up his cell phone and slowly said to Huang Yuan. Let the IAP Mall side suspend the rental contract between Qian Yuan Jewelry. The moment these words came out, Qin Nanshan's face suddenly changed. Afterwards, he looked at Lin Mo and said, What do you mean? The noblewoman in the back, on the other hand, continued with her open mouth mocking. Ha! Who do you think you are? Still letting the IAP Mall suspend the rental contract with us? You think this IAP Mall is your family's? Funny. However, in the instant after this sentence was finished, Qin Nanshan's cell phone rang, and after connecting it, his face suddenly paled. Then, incredulously, he looked towards Lin Mo, who was sitting there. Lin Mo, on the other hand, was sipping his drink in a cloudy manner, and at the same time, slowly said, I'm sorry, you're right, this IAP Mall, it's really run by my family. Chapter 109, he's still a few hundred years ahead of his time. With this sentence falling afterward, the noblewoman was confused. Just as she was about to say something, she saw, there, the pale Qin Nantian. At that moment, the entire person also stiffened in place. And the cell phone in Qin Nanshan's hand snapped a moment, is dropped on the ground. The entire person's face was even paler than ever. Afterwards, he looked at Lin Mo. His body was trembling and his throat was wriggling. You. Qin Nantian was dumbfounded. Originally, he just thought that Lin Mo was just an ordinary shareholder of a large group. In that case, even if he was offended, he would still be completely unimaginative, but unexpectedly, the other party was actually still the boss of the IAP Mall. And, just now, this IAP Mall's general manager is personally give himself a phone call. Give yourself a scolding. Then, lifted their Qin family and IAP Mall between store rental agreement. Can say. This is completely, let Qin Nantian dumbfounded, and panic. To know IAP Mall stores, for their Qin family, is very important. Not to mention this IAP Mall is the Magic City traffic and purchasing power, the top 3 senior mall. In order to take the current store, the money invested. That is a huge amount. If anything, really need to reselect the new store location then. Reinvested into the funds, that is an immeasurable number. At that time, the family side, at least, is a loss of millions of dollars. This moment, Qin Nanshan's expression stiffened. Arriving in front of Lin Mo, he struggled to squeeze out a hint of a smile and said, Mr. Lin, just now there was much offense, still, please atone for your sins. Lin Mo indifferently glanced at this Qin Nantian. After that, it was a cold smile and said, I remember, just now, Dong Qin wasn't still saying. Your wife's attitude is your attitude? What? With the fall of these words, on this Qin Nanshan's face, the smile also stiffened more and more. One could only laugh with an embarrassed face. Misunderstanding, all of this is a misunderstanding. That old lady in my house speaks without thinking, please Mr. Lin, you can be more forgiving. As for the compensation to you, that also please Mr. Lin, you can give us a few more days, our Qin family try to get the money together. In response, Lin Mo just waved his hand and said, Alright, that's it, in addition, mind your good son. Don't see a pretty girl and think of going up and flirting. After saying this, Lin Mo was looking at Xieyuma and said, "There's nothing interesting here, why don't we change the place and continue the celebration?" Okay. Xieyuma nodded her head, and then looked towards a few of her dormitory girlfriends who were there, and said, "Do you guys want to come together?" In a hurry, the few people here were the ones who had, for that matter, shook their heads. And then, the two of them were the ones who left the private room. As for Qin Nantian, who was there, at this moment, his expression stiffened. In an instant, he understood what had happened, and roughly guessed the truth. It is estimated that his own son, flirting indiscriminately, flirted with this Lin Mo's sister, and thus invited people's retaliation. At once, this Qin Nanshan's anger ignited in his heart. "Dad!" Qin Hao swallowed his saliva, looking at the silent Qin Nantian. His heart was terrified. "Don't you call me Dad. I don't have a son like you, who can't make things happen." Saying that, Qin Nantian drew out the 7 wolves, then with a fierce blow, it was viciously drawn on Qin Hao's body. At that moment, a burst of miserable screams in the barbecue city for it resounded. For all this, at this time, Lin Mo did not know anything about it. At this time, he had already left the barbecue city. He got into the Laken that was parked on the side of the road. Lin Mo was the one who looked at Xieyuma with a smile and badgered, "Why don't we go climb a mountain?" As Lin Mo's sentence just fell, Xieyuma was the one who instantly understood in a second. Her face flushed scarlet for it. Pouting, she said, "Bad egg." Although Xieyuma spoke so on her lips, but still, she gently hummed. At that moment, Lin Mo just let out a light laugh. And then, the sports car sped out. Time passed. The sun set in the west. Inside the hotel room, Lin Mo sat on the bed. Next to her, Xieyuma was drenched in fragrant sweat, and just at this moment, the cell phone that was placed on the side was suddenly ringing. A transfer record appeared on the cell phone screen. The amount transferred, no more, no less. 2 million. Looking at this number, Lin Mo smiled at the corner of his mouth and said, "This Qin family's processing speed, it's quite fast." After sending the message over to Yuan, this Xieyuma, however, sighed and said, "It's a pity, even though the money for the wristwatch arrived. But wanting to buy back another, identical watch is impossible." Listening to these words, Lin Mo, however, instantly laughed. And then, he lifted the pants on the side. Then it was from the pocket of the pants that the watch was turned out. Lo, the watch is still here. Tossing it gently in his hand, Lin Mo's mouth was filled with a smile. "You." At that moment, Xieyuma's mouth opened wide and his expression looked unbelievable. "What?" Lin Mo laughed softly and set the wristwatch aside, saying with his little tricks, "He's still preparing to play magic tricks in front of me? Oh, he's still a few hundred years too early." Listening to this, Xieyuma also had some small grudges, saying, "You're so bad. It all scared me to death. I really thought that you lost your wristwatch." "Ha ha." Lin Mo laughed out loud. Then, looking at the Xieyuma, he said, "Shall we do it again?" Yikes. With a scream. Inside this room, once again, the sound of decadence rang out. 8:30 p.m. Lin Mo sent Xieyuma back to the school. After cleaning up the car and his own body odor, it is all the way back to the villa in the eastern suburb of Yuan. Just entered the villa room. Is to see, wearing a chef outfit. Is there to follow the maid, learning to cook Mu Nanji. Nanji came? Looking at Mu Nanji there, Lin Mo was surprised and said, "Yes, today, between me and Auntie, I'm going to learn a new dish, so I'll make it for you to eat later." A smile appeared on Mu Nanji's face, there was a touch of cream on her cheeks. Lin Mo frowned. Subconsciously, he reached out his hand, wiped away the smear of cream and sent it into his mouth. At once, in the air, the atmosphere somewhat began to heat up. The atmosphere between Mu Nanji and Lin Mo there, between the two of them, appeared to be somewhat ambiguous. Chapter 110, Stock Market Future Predictor Card. You. Somewhat surprised, he looked at Lin Mo. Mu Nanji's face. At this time it was like a reddish apple. Lin Mo also froze. For this situation, the entire person was completely in a daze. He really was just subconsciously acting and reacting. At this moment, Lin Mo's expression completely stiffened. Then, it was the awkward opening of his mouth. This is my subconscious reaction. That, Nanji, don't think too much, This time, Mu Nanji held her face red. Afterwards, then it was direct, saying, I'll leave first, and Wang, I'll learn this dish from you next time. After saying that, Mu Nanji was the one who quickly took off the chef's outfit on her body. Then, quickly left the place. Looking at such Mu Nanji, Lin Mo also reacted instantly. The corners of his mouth jerked, and he cursed angrily in the bottom of his heart. What did I just say? Subconscious reaction? Don't think much? Saying it instead made it easier to think more, right? This time, Lin Mo was also a bit confused. It's too early to die, muttered in his heart. Lin Mo, who was here, was instantly a bit flustered. And next to him, Huang Yuan and a few maid ants. At this time looked at Lin Mo's face color. It was also slightly obvious, with a few points of oddness. Lin Mo coughed awkwardly. Alright, hurry up and cook. After saying that, Lin Mo was also sitting on the sofa with a despondent expression. AI, how should this ease the relationship with Mu Nanji? Lin Mo sighed in his heart. At this time, he, however, remembered. After meeting Mu Nanji's grandfather at first. The night with Mu Nanji. Originally, he hadn't thought about how to deal with the relationship with Mu Nanji. Now it is good. This relationship was even more troublesome. Headache. Just as he was sighing, Lin Mo's cell phone, on the other hand, rang violently. Picking it up and glancing at it, Lin Mo was also stunned. It was a message that Mu Nanji had taken the initiative to give himself. Mu Nanji, I forgot to tell you just now while I was leaving, are you free tomorrow? I would like to invite you to visit the painting exhibition at the art museum. A painting exhibition? Looking at the message Mu Nanji sent to herself, Lin Mo instantly said with the corners of his mouth rising. Can I interpret this as, are you taking the initiative to ask me out? With this sentence coming out, the Mu Nanji on the other end of the cell phone, who was already blushing. The bottom of his heart could be described as a deer in the headlights. For a moment, did not know how to reply. Can only reply to the road. As you wish, if you are free, then come to me tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. If you're not free, then a few days later, it's fine. Looking at Mu Nanji's reply, Lin Mo's face also revealed a smile. Okay, then I'll go find you tomorrow morning, on time. After saying these words, Lin Mo's mood could be described as incomparably happy. Inside the second villa. At this time, Mu Nanji was completely without the kind of strong woman feeling she had in the shopping mall. At this time, it was as if she was a little girl. This state of Mu Nanji, if seen by outsiders, I'm afraid to be shocked off the jaw. And at this moment, Sun Fu, who had just finished cooking the tea and was ready to bring it over. It was just the right time to see Mu Nanji in such a state. The movement of the hand is also for it a beat. The expression also appears to have a few moments of stagnation. This. Is it really the strong woman lady that you know? Even in the face of some of the giant enterprises of the Magic City's oppression. But still, the performance is very strong. Not a little bit of retreat, miss? Obviously is a. The first thing that you need to know is that you are still in love, and your brain is full of love brain of the little woman, okay? At this moment, Sun Fu only felt that this was all very unreal. However, at this very moment Mu Nanji's afterglow, on the other hand, glanced at Sun Fu. At that moment, the aura on his body changed. Slowly, Is spoke. Uncle Sun, is there something wrong? Sun Fu's body trembled, then hastily returned to his senses. Feeling this Mu Nanji's afterglow, in a hurry, he was saying. Miss, the tea you wanted. After placing the tea in his hands in front of Mu Nanji. This Sun Fu was then in a hurry, ready to leave. And at this time, Mu Nanji's leisurely voice, for which rang. Uncle Sun, just now, you didn't see anything, right? Mu Nanji's voice was somewhat cold. As these words fell, Sun Fu who was there. The body was a burst of, trembling for it. Ha, 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 miss, what are you talking about? I just brought you a cup of tea, I didn't see anything. A few words fell. Mu Nanji also just calmly said. I hope so. And just at this time, Sun Fu's footsteps were a beat. Said, but miss, I still wish to remind you. If it is said that you cannot fulfill the betting agreement. Mu Nanji, who was there, said with a cold look in her eyes. There is no need for you to remind me of this point. It's me who was talkative. Sun Fu quickly left the place. And Mu Nanji also let out a sigh. The look on her face had a few moments of sadness. 4 months, 8 billion? On the other side. Inside the number 1 villa. Lin Mo finished his dinner. And after that, went into the underground gym to get fit. Waiting until 11:30 p.m. Only then did he get into bed and looked at his cell phone. Not long after, it was 12:00 p.m. And at this time, $1 trillion subsidy app at this time is also officially started to refresh. With Lin Mo's refreshing. On this app, new goods then just appeared. Stock market future forecast card. Subsidized price, $999. Divine painting skills. Subsidized price, 999 inch. With the successful refresh, the 2 items just appeared on the phone screen in a pause. Ha! Refresh today, are they 2 items? Lin Mo's expression, at this moment, instantly looked a little stunned. After all, the probability of the app being able to, at the same time, refresh 2 items was still very low. But the price of these 2 items is the first time that such a price has appeared. Muttering in the bottom of his heart, Lin Mo looked at the 999 selling price and pondered in his heart. Stock market future prediction card. Just by looking at the name of this commodity, he knew that it wasn't simple. There was no hesitation in his heart. Immediately, Lin Mo chose to buy these 2 items together. Purchase successful. The product is being delivered, estimated delivery time, 5 hours. Please wait for delivery. Looking at the message that surfaced on the cell phone app, Lin Mo just shook his head then, didn't wait too much. Just hunkered down under the covers and started to sleep. Chapter 111, The Demon Stock That Has Turned 200 Times. The night passed. By the time the next morning rolled around, Lin Mo only felt a few moments of swelling in his head. After struggling to shake his head, Lin Mo, who was here, also finally came back to his senses. Phew! A long breath was exhaled. Here, Lin Mo's expression also appeared a few moments of realization. So that's how it is. He muttered in his heart. For a moment, here in Lin Mo's heart, he understood. While I was sleeping, this divine level painting work was what passed into my mind. The bottom of his heart murmured. Lin Mo, who was here, was also smooth and opened the $1 trillion subsidy app. Then, tapped on the props bar. At this moment, among the app's props bar, the stock market future forecast card that he had purchased. At this time, it was just like lying in the props bar. I'm sure it's here. When we eat later, let's see what's going on with this stock market future foreknowledge card. Muttering in his heart, Lin Mo then went to take a shower and wash up. After a bit of washing up, only then did he come into the middle of the restaurant. Huang Yuan also came in front of Lin Mo at this time. Respectfully, she said. Boss, good morning. Aha. Nodding, he sat down before the dining table. While eating his breakfast, Lin Mo, at the same time, tapped on the stock market future forecast card inside the app. The moment the phone was just tapped on, a pop-up window appeared. This card is valid for 15 minutes. After using it, please enter the stock exchange market to check it. Is it to be used immediately? As the system's prompt surfaced, Lin Mo, who was here, was instantly stunned. Good lord, I still have to download a stock trading app before using it? After laughing softly in his heart, Lin Mo first entered the App Store. Lin Mo first entered the application store and downloaded a securities trading app. After that, he registered his account and opened an account on the internet. After doing all these operations, only then did Lin Mo quickly use the stock market future prediction card. Almost the instant it was used, in front of Lin Mo, This one stock code, the trend of the next 4 months, as well as the final profit and loss. It was all of them that surfaced in front of Lin Mo. Looking at this 4-month chart, Lin Mo at this time is also a burst of, for the staggering, Nanyang Foods, Sherry Wine, Ningda Time and Space. A well-known enterprise's stock, the next 4 months time chart. One after another, is in Lin Mo's mind, one by one floating. And 15 minutes, soon that is, passed. The moment the time ended, this feeling of knowing the future faded like a tidal wave. Phew. Exhaling a breath, Lin Mo rubbed his temples, after slightly organizing the memories in his mind. Then he just looked at Huang Yuan and said, "Butler Huang, take the paper and pen and bring them over here for me." Okay. Huang Yuan quickly fetched the paper and pen and handed them to Lin Mo. And Lin Mo, at this moment, also relied on his memory. On this paper, he wrote down the name of a company, as well as the stock code. Corning Battery. St. This was an enterprise with the highest rate of increase that Lin Mo had seen within these 15 minutes. This enterprise was now an enterprise on the verge of delisting and reorganization. But just this one enterprise, in just 4 months, the stock price went from 1.8 per share, hard up to $3.78. $5 per share. That's straight up, that's a 200-fold increase in share price. The reason is because this company, after 2 days, successfully developed the latest technology of the battery. Solved the problem of new energy electric vehicles, insufficient range and long charging time. In one fell swoop, it completely changed the market for new energy electric vehicles. This stock, if I can hold it in my hands, the assets in my hand, that is able to impact 5 or 6 billion. At this time, in Lin Mo's hand, there was nearly $800 million in cash. However, he didn't intend to put all of this $800 million into the stock market. After all, the rate of return of this stock, even though it was incredibly high, but the cycle was too long, a full 4 months. Butler Huang. Lin Mo spoke. Keep an eye on this stock for me, and when the market opens tomorrow morning, help me put $300 million into it and acquire their company's share among the stock market. Huang Yuan picked it up. Then, a glance was aimed at the name of this stock. St. Huang Yuan pondered in the bottom of her heart. Then, she didn't speak hastily. She just clicked on the securities app on her cell phone. Then, took a look at the K-chart of this stock. Then he just looked at Lin Mo and said, "Boss, although I shouldn't go questioning your judgment, are you sure? This stock, it's a stock, a stock with delisting risk. If you get your hands on it now, it's likely that you'll have it in your hands. That $300 million of stock share, all smashed in the hand." Listening to this, Lin Mo was also a little surprised, looked at Huang Yuan and said, "I didn't realize that you still know about stocks?" Huang Yuan, who was here, smiled slightly and spoke. "When I was in college, I once took finance." In response, Lin Mo just smiled and said, "Alright, but you don't have to worry that much. You just follow what I said and buy in $300 million tomorrow first. As for whether it's a loss or a gain, that's all my business. I'll send you the account password of my securities account later." "Okay, boss." This Huang Yuan nodded her head slightly. Although she said that she was very puzzled by Lin Mo's actions, but still, she didn't say anything more. Lin Mo, on the other hand, left his family's #1 villa after finishing his breakfast. Then, drove out his own Pagani. Immediately, he rang the doorbell. The door to the room opened and Mu Nanji, who was wearing a Cheongsam outfit, was slowly walking down from the second floor at that moment. That a pair of straight white legs, in the Cheongsam open slits, unreservedly exposed. Let a person see, can't help but gulp. On their lips, they also hurriedly opened their mouths and praised. "Nanji, your today's set of Cheongsam, really beautiful And between a pair and your person, it's simply a perfect match." Immediately, Lin Mo also opened his mouth to praise. Listening to Lin Mo's words, Mu Nanji's face was slightly red. Pouting, she said, "Poor mouth." While saying this Mu Nanji, at the same time, stretched out her hand. Seeing this, Lin Mo held her hand, opened the door of the passenger side of the supercar, and let her get into the car. After that, the two of them went straight to the art museum. All the way speeding. But it was after spending nearly 40 minutes, the two arrived at the Magic City Art Museum. Today's art exhibition was still tremendous. And it was organized by the chairman of the Magic City Art Association. Therefore, it was possible to borrow an exhibition hall of the art museum. The area of the Magic City Art Museum was huge, with a total of 12 exhibition halls. A total of 6,000 square meters. And today's exhibition is located in the exhibition hall, is in the 8th exhibition hall. Chapter 112. It seems that this master's vision is not good. Stepping into the exhibition hall, Mu Nanji looked at the Chinese paintings hanging on both sides. The expression was a little excited, with yearning. Afterwards, it was looking at Lin Mo and said, "Lin Mo, have you participated in a painting exhibition before?" In response, Lin Mo gently shook his head and said that's not true. After all, in the past, Lin Mo was not a fan of such things as paintings, Therefore, there wasn't much of a painting exhibition or anything. In that case, well then, I'll come and introduce you to some. Saying that, Mu Nanji just came in front of a spring scene picture, introducing it to Lin Mo. This spring scene picture, that's the painting of Old Master Zhao Xianzhong. The old man is an associate professor at the Magic City Academy of Fine Arts. This painting is the master's favorite work. It's said that a rich merchant once offered $2 million for this spring scene. However, the old master did not sell it, and has been collecting it at home. Said, in the bottom of this Mu Nanji's eyes, brought a few points of appreciation color. Listening to this, Lin Mo also just skimmed his mouth. After obtaining the divine grade painter, not only had his own painting skill reached the peak of excellence, even his appreciation of a painting had reached the extreme. In Mu Nanji's eyes, it was a painting worth millions of dollars. In Lin Mo's eyes, there were all kinds of problems. And this painting, it is as if there is only form, but no God. And there Mu Nanji, at this time, also noticed Lin Mo's appearance, said, What's wrong? In response to this, Lin Mo just smiled faintly and shook his head. Nothing. After all, looking at this excited appearance of Mu Nanji, there were some words of his own that it was better not to say for the time being. This Mu Nanji was also walking and chatting at the same time. Unconsciously, two people also came to a picture of steed before. Looking at this picture of horses, the Mu Nanji there, at this time, the bottom of her eyes. At that moment, a look of respect surfaced. Looking at these words, slowly is said. This steed picture is created by the chairman of the Magic City Art Association, Mr. Wang Qingyang. Old Mr. Wang in the industry can be said to be highly respected. When I was in college, I also received guidance from him. So Mr. Wang is also half of my master. And this hand of his in drawing horses can be considered out of this world. Listening to these words, Lin Mo also nodded his head and said, This painting is indeed not bad, only, these horses still have a few shortcomings above their demeanor. With these words coming out, Mu Nanji, who was here, did freeze. Then, there was also some uncertainty as to what to say about Lin Mo. But just at this moment, a slightly disgruntled voice was violently coming from behind. "Ch. The words are so full, not afraid of pulling your tongue. There's still a lack of demeanor? You don't understand art, and you're still talking nonsense here?" As this voice rang out, Lin Mo and Mu Nanji turned their heads back, only to see an old man, who was standing there, looking at Lin Mo with a face full of contempt. Mu Nanji also saw this old man. At that moment, there were just a few moments of astonishment. And, in the bottom of his heart, even though it was said that there was some displeasure about the words he had just said about Lin Mo, he still opened his mouth. "Senior Tang, why are you here as well?" Saying that, she was also for Lin Mo, saying, "Lin Mo, this is Senior Tang Changchao." Tang Changchao then looked at Lin Mo. Immediately, he opened his mouth and said, He. Young man, you just said that this painting of our chairman is missing a bit of godliness?" Lin Mo then calmly said, "Not bad. These three horses are still missing a few moments of divinity." Listening to these words, Tang Changchao, who was there, at that moment, he just snorted and said, He. You say that this painting lacks charisma? It's really some big words. Do you know, on this steed picture of our chairman? Even the national painting master Zhang Xianshang looked at it, it was all praised. What qualifications do you have to say that this steed painting is lacking in charisma, a guy who doesn't know what he's talking about? Accompanied by the fall of these words, Lin Mo by that was shaking his head, saying, "Is that so? Then it seems that in your mouth, that so-called national painting master. In this aspect of appreciation, it's not good either. Otherwise, how could he praise this painting so much?" After a sentence fell. Tang Changchao there was instantly a little angry. "You, Zhang Xianshang, this is the national painting industry Titanic figure. As long as a little bit, to stomp a foot. Then the national painting industry, but the big man to be earthquake. But now, Lin Mo actually dared to insult and question this Master Zhan like this? Who does he think he is? Couldn't it be that he thought of himself as a national painting master?" In an instant, Tang Changchao's face turned red. Next to him, Mu Nanji was also shocked. She hadn't expected that Lin Mo would actually dare to speak like this. This was really a bit of an unknown. Hastily, she also said, "Senior Tang, I'm really sorry. This friend of mine, he doesn't pay much attention to fine arts, please forgive me." Hearing this, Tang Changchao was also unable to continue his attack. He could only snort coldly and said, "Young people, don't be too crazy. If you don't understand something, don't talk nonsense." He doesn't understand? At this moment, Lin Mo instantly laughed. He himself didn't understand art? If one didn't understand art, then this divine painting skill of his own would really be in vain. Shaking his head for a while, Lin Mo also said, "Forget it, Nanji, let's just go." For this kind of person, Lin Mo all but just didn't bother to waste any more words. However, just at this time, a group of people were vastly walking over. At the same time, a voice rang out. Changchao, why are you here?" Tang Changchao was instantly jolted. And then it was to say, "Chairman, you're here." With the moment these words fell, Wang Qingyang, who was there, also saw, standing back, Mu Nanji. At that moment, he said, "Yo, girl Mu is also here?" "Grandpa Wang." Mu Nanji shouted at Wang Qingyang. After that, it was to look at the several other people who were on the side, saying, "Elder Chiu, Elder Lan." A group of people greeted each other. These people also contained smiles and nodded their heads at Mu Nanji. Afterwards, it was towards Lin Mo, who was beside Mu Nanji, who said, "Yo, Mu girl, this is talking about her boyfriend. Today is with their boyfriends, to the art museum dating?" With some snickering, Mu Nanji immediately blushed slightly and said, "Elder Lan, don't talk nonsense, between Lin Mo and I, it's just a normal friend relationship." "Ha, little girl, this is still shy." A moment in time, the crowd had just laughed out loud. And just at this moment, Tang Changchao, who was next to him, was unsympathetic and came up with a sentence. "Hee, it's just that this Muya's vision is not good. Looking at a cocky guy. Just now, he was still here, saying that the chairman's picture of the steed was lacking in charisma. And even more sarcastically, Master Zheng's vision is not good." A sentence fell. Everyone's faces changed slightly. Chapter 113, The One Who Deserves to be Humiliated. Wang Changchao's words fell. Everyone's faces, all of them changed. One of them, a middle-aged man with a beard, was instantly furious. Towards Lin Mo, who was there, he was angrily rebuking. "How dare you? A mere yellow-mouthed child dares to insult Master Zhang like this. You don't know what's in store for you. Master Zhang is a great master of national painting. What do you think you are? Humph. How dare you criticize the chairman's paintings as lacking in charm? You're just a little kid who doesn't even know what he's talking about. Mu Yao, you're not good at reading people. This is a scoundrel. You'd better stay away from him in the future." In an instant, the crowd here was pointing their fingers at Lin Mo. And Mu Nanji, at this moment, was also anxious. Hurriedly, she helped Lin Mo to defend himself. "No, it's not what you guys think. Lin Mo, he is not this kind of person. There is a misunderstanding here." "Misunderstanding?" Wang Changchao, who was there, at this time completely, was just being reasonable. Smiling coldly, he opened his mouth. Oh, in just now, I but personally heard. Then in here, what kind of misunderstanding can there be? Wang Changchao immediately, then was coldly said I. An instant. Mu Nanji, who was here, her face changed. Lin Mo, on the other hand, shook his head and said. There's no need to explain anything too much with this group of guys. A group of people who are selling their names and honor, it's not too shameful. After saying that, Lin Mo was pulling Mu Nanji's wrist, preparing to leave. But right at this moment, the old man standing there at the very front. But all of a sudden, he revealed a smile and said. Hee, young man, also please wait, just now Long Chao said. You feel that there is something lacking in this painting of mine? Lin Mo swept a glance at this old man. If he, himself, remembered correctly, the others had just addressed this old man as chairman? Then it seemed that he was that chairman of the Fine Arts Association, Wang Chengyan? That's right. Lin Mo nodded and said. You've drawn 7 points of this painting's divinity, it lacks 3 points of fire. Lin Mo, who was here, was full of calmness between his words. With the moment the words fell, this Wang Qingyang's face, too, was somewhat unable to hang on. This painting of his was his own masterpiece. Moreover, this painting has condensed all of his life's efforts. Later on, it was even praised by Master Zheng himself. This painting is definitely a treasure of the world. Between the world, his steed picture, in today's national painting industry, can enter the top 5. And the work that was praised so much in front of this junior actually was said to be lack of 3 fireworks? How can this make his Wang Qingyang's face hold up? In an instant, Wang Qingyang's face was ugly and blue. And then, is slowly said. He, listening to little brother say so. Little brother for the national painting aspect is also considered quite research? And painting skills must also be very exquisite. Why don't you show your hand to everyone here? Also let us people, to open the eyes how? Listening to these words Lin Mo's eyes narrowed slightly. It seemed that Wang Qingyang's fox's tail had finally revealed itself. Preparing to give himself back here? Ha. Coldly laughing in the bottom of his heart, Lin Mo looked at this Wang Qingyang and said. No, what kind of person are you? If you ask me to draw, I have to draw for you? Who are you, with such a big face? After a few words fell, Mu Nanji's expression looked embarrassed. Said. Lin Mo, he's what I told you, chairman of the Art Association, Chairman Wang Qingyang. Once these words came out, Wang Qingyang also straightened his shirt. He still believed in his reputation. It was also a belief that Lin Mo would wimp out after hearing his name. However, Lin Mo shook his head on the spot and said. Wang Chengyan? Who is this? Don't recognize him. This time, Mu Nanji's face reddened. As for Wang Qingyang's expression, he was also embarrassed, and at this time, Mu Nanji, then hurriedly, to Wang Qingyang, who was there, said. Chairman, Lin Mo, he really doesn't know how to do Chinese painting, so why don't we just forget about it? A sentence fell. Mocking voices rang out once again. Don't! Mu girl, when this guy was just now, wasn't his mouth still quite capable? Yeah. Since it's so powerful, if he's good, he'll go on. What's wrong with him now? That's right, but I'm afraid that this guy is even a total of national painting. There are several schools do not know it. Listening to the surrounding mocking sound, Mu Nanji looked even more embarrassed. And at this moment, Wang Qingyang, who was there, still had a smile on the corner of his mouth. Only for his own side, for Lin Mo's mockery, that was very joyful. Immediately, it was opening his mouth. Oh, young man, if you don't dare to draw, the big deal is to apologize. If you know how to draw, then show your hand generously and let us see, but now, you're hiding behind a woman, what does that mean? Between Wang Qingyang's words, although there was no mockery, but the implication within was already without words. All of a sudden, Mu Nanji's face, too, turned red. As for this moment, Lin Mo's voice, however, also sounded blandly. That's fine, since you guys have to humiliate yourselves. Then there's no point in me continuing to give you guys face. There's only a reluctant way to beat your faces. Lin Mo's tone was full of helplessness. But it fell on the ears of the crowd. but it made these people, all of a sudden, irritated by it. Assholes. Big talk. A dead duck with a stiff upper lip. Waiting for the meeting. I would like to see what kind of shit you can draw. Don't be afraid that later, you don't even know how to hold the brush. Humph. That's a lot of bragging. The crowd snorted coldly, saying. This time, Mu Nanji was anxious. Hurriedly, said. Lin Mo, why don't we just forget about it? You don't know anything about Chinese painting. Big deal, you give them an apology, and that's it. Mu Nanji's heart was anxious. After all, she had asked Lin Mo before she came. Lin Mo, on the other hand, said that he never pays attention to art exhibitions and whatnot. How could a person who never paid attention to art exhibitions know anything about Chinese painting? Even if he did, how could he have too high an attainment in Chinese painting? In this regard, Lin Mo smiled indifferently. Lin Mo, however, smiled blandly and said, Don't worry, just watch from the sidelines. This group of guys are just a bunch of frogs in the bottom of a well. Lin Mo shook his head and laughed lightly. Looking at the crowd there, under his eyes, he was filled with sarcasm. And then, it was, lead the way. The words fell. The crowd here also came to the center of the exhibition hall. Before a long table. On the table, a roll of rice paper was spread out, with a brush and ink laid out next to it. Lin Mo, on the other hand, took a big step forward and picked up the brush. At that moment, the aura on Lin Mo's body changed abruptly. Suddenly, it was as if he was a grandmaster who had been immersed in the way of painting for many years. The top of the sky and the ground. Chapter 114. Does he think he is a grandmaster? I'm sorry, but he really is a grandmaster. The aura rose. The moment he lifted his brush, a great man's demeanor naturally formed along with the formation of everyone's demeanor. In the bottom of that crowd's heart, could not help but be shocked. This aura is really a bit scary. One couldn't help but be in awe. However, in the next moment, these few people fell back to their senses. This guy's aura. Oomph, it's just posturing. What's the point of having a fierce aura? If the things that will be drawn out later don't work, what's the point of having a strong aura? That's right. It's all about the painting after all. Young people don't know how to be humble, they only put on airs. The few people here snorted coldly. Lin Mo dropped his brush. The pen fell with a majestic momentum. The pen traveled like a dragon, the intention was first. The sharpness was self-made. As Lin Mo dropped his pen, the mocking voices gradually became smaller. Gradually, one looked a little stunned. As for Chairman Wang Changyang, he was completely dumbfounded. Among all the people here, he was the strongest painter. Therefore, after Lin Mo put down his brush, he could see the depth of Lin Mo's strength. That's why his entire jaw was dropped, unable to close his mouth in surprise. Until after Lin Mo's last stroke had fallen, he hadn't been able to come back to his senses. At this moment, on top of this rice paper, between the thick ink and heavy colors, a horse with its head down eating grass jumped onto the paper. The whole horse seems not to be a dead thing, and is like a living thing, to leap out of the rice paper. In an instant, it was almost as if it had come to life. Looking at this horse, the entire hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at Lin Mo who was there. It was as if they were looking at a monster. After all, this kind of drawing skill was really too terrifying and frightening. Just this horse drawing was just too good. Almost enough to be comparable to what their president had done before. No wonder this guy before dare so arrogant. So young, with this strength, enough to make it so arrogant. But remembering before, the words that Lin Mo had said. These people from the Fine Arts Association, however, their faces still shifted for a while. Saying, humph. Even if the painting is good, what's the use? How dare you go and question Master Zhang? With this kind of disrespectful behavior, no matter how good you are at this painting, it's all for naught. Exactly. You have no manners. Heh, this horse painting is just average, compared to the chairman's painting, there's a world of difference between the two. That's right. You have no virtue in your mouth, commenting on the works of your predecessors indiscriminately, and you dare to talk about Master Zhang. Talented but without virtue. At once the crowd here, one after another, were all sneering at Lin Mo. And under this burst of cynicism, Lin Mo was also shaking his head. These guys, their own abilities were insufficient. Naturally, they were unable to see the subtleties of this painting of theirs. And this was also a side proof of one thing. These people's talent, that was the end of it. In this life, in the path of art, they would not have too high an achievement. In this regard Lin Mo just laughed coldly, shook his head and said, "A bunch of frogs in the bottom of the well." In response, Lin Mo didn't explain anything too much. He just glanced at Mu Nanji, who was there, and said, "Alright, Nanji, let's go. What can we say if we stay with this group of frogs at the bottom of the well?" After Lin Mo's words fell, then he just quickly turned around and left the place. And Mu Nanji, who was there at this time, was just a bit helpless and opened her mouth. "That's fine." With that, she then just quickly, with the other group of seniors, after saluting, she turned to bid farewell. At the same time, towards Lin Mo, she was also rushing, and spoke. "Lin Mo, wait for me slightly." After saying that, he quickly chased after them. And at this moment, the crowd of people from the Fine Arts Association there were also a burst of snickering and opened their mouths. "Arrogant rats. Calling us frogs at the bottom of the well? What does this guy think he is, and he dares to talk about us like that? Humph. Arrogant and arrogant person." And at this point in time there was also someone who saw Wang Qingyang, who was staring at Lin Mo's painting. Unable to help it, he opened his mouth curiously and asked, "Hey, Chairman, why are you staring at this painting so mesmerized?" Hearing this, Wang Qingyang, who was there, finally came back to his senses. Hurriedly, he looked around and said, "Where's Lin Mo? Where is Lin Mo who was still drawing here just now?" At this moment, Wang Qingyang was a bit flustered, and in a hurry, he opened his mouth to ask. However, after these words fell, the rest of the people in this association, however, looked puzzled and said, "Chairman, just now that arrogant and cocky kid has now gone for a while, why do you care so much about him?" "Yes, Chairman, this guy is nothing more than an ignorant and arrogant person, not worth paying attention to at all." "That's right. On the way out, he even said that we are frogs in the bottom of the well. This kid is just too arrogant. What qualifications does he have to say that? Doesn't he still think that he's some kind of grandmaster?" With a burst of chatter, Wang Qingyang's expression was incomparably bitter. Unavoidably, he then said, "You guys, you're really a bunch of frogs in the bottom of the well. This Lin Mo's painting, you really don't see it?" As Wang Qingyang's words fell, the crowd here, however, froze in their tracks. Tang Changchao's face immediately froze. And then, he looked at Wang Qingyang and said, "Chairman, your words mean? Could it be that this painting, there could still be some kind of mystery?" Listening to Tang Changchao's words, Wang Qingyang, who was there, then sighed and shook his head. The painting done by that Lin Mo senior just now has long been out of the ordinary and back to basics. The horse inside this painting is, so to speak, not a painting at all, but a steed that is full of vigor and lifelike. A painter who can paint a painting of this caliber, in my eyes, is only a grandmaster. In other words, that Lin Mo senior just now, he is indeed a patriarch. Boom! A stone stirred up 1,000 waves. The minds of everyone there, at this point, were already exploding. What were they just now doing? Driving away a hidden fine arts patriarch level figure? And were still there, shouting insults and mocking the other party? At this moment, many of the people who had taunted Lin Mo, at this moment, their bodies were already trembling. After all, a 20-year-old painting master. This future can be said to be limitless. And their Tang Changchao, at this time, his expression had already despaired. Just now, he had actually offended an art master. His future is dark. Chapter 115, Wang Qingyang, who begged for a painting. The other people were also changing colors for a while. A master artist in his early 20s. In an instant, many of the people who had previously spoken out in mockery turned as if they had turned the color of pig's liver. If one offended such a person, then, in the future, in the art world, one would not be able to mix. At this time, many people had also figured this out. At that moment, looking at the bottom of the eyes of Tang Changchao and others, it was with a few points of gloating. At the same time, the bottom of the heart is also 10,000 for the celebration. He hadn't said anything to taunt Lin Mo just now. Otherwise, I'm afraid that they would all have to suffer along with it. As for Tang Changqiu, who was there, he was crying with a sad face and hurriedly ran to Wang Qingyang's face, saying, "Chairman, what am I going to do, Ami?" At this moment, Tang Changqiu was basically anxious and on the verge of crying out. After all, this situation in front of him really made him a bit panicked. What to do? Wang Qingyang, who was there, smiled coldly, glanced at this Tang Changqiu, and said, "You'd better fend for yourself." After saying that, he just hurriedly ran out, wanting to see if he could still catch up with Lin Mo. After all, one had to show goodwill in front of Lin Mo. Quite a few other members of the association. At this time, they also reacted and chased out together. While Tang Changqiu listened to Wang Qingyang's words, but he directly fell to the ground. The expression was lost in thought and indistinct. And, by the time this Wang Qingyang and the rest of the group, after chasing out of the art museum but also failed to find Lin Mo and Mu Nanji's figure. After all, at this time, Lin Mo was already driving a car. The two of them ran in the direction of the villa area together. This Wang Qingyang and others also had to return unhappy. However, Wang Qingyang was in no hurry. After all, this time, since Lin Mo came with Mu Nanji, and between the two of them, it looked like they were still close to each other. So if you want to find Lin Mo, it wasn't a difficult thing to do. The main thing was how he was going to show Lin Mo goodwill. Wang Qingyang pondered. Subsequently, in the bottom of his heart, he also murmured, saying, "Well, let's ask senior brother first." Thinking of this, he was also alone, returning to the exhibition hall. After all, such a thing had happened. Everyone really needed to calm down a bit. After Wang Qingyang returned to the exhibition hall, looking at the painting that Lin Mo had made on the table, his eyes were filled with admiration immediately. As if he remembered something, he took out his cell phone and took a picture. He took out his cell phone, took a picture and sent it to his senior. But it was just a few short minutes. Wang Qingyang's cell phone, on the other hand, rang directly. Senior brother. After picking it up, Wang Qingyang just opened his mouth. "Qingyang, where did you get this painting from?" This is definitely the authentic work of a Grandmaster Senior. On the other end of the phone, a trembling and anxious voice rang out. "Unexpected. I did not expect I have lived for 78 years, and in my lifetime, I can actually see a Grandmaster level painting." Listening to the anxious voice of his own senior brother, Wang Qingyang had mixed feelings. This senior brother of his own was worshipped 10 years earlier than himself. At the time of his own apprenticeship, he was already famous. And after several decades of climbing and fighting, his own senior brother had also become a great master of Chinese painting. Thinking of this, Wang Qingyang told the whole story as he finished speaking. Bai Hai on the other end of the phone immediately shuddered. On his face, annoyance clearly appeared. Subsequently, fiercely, he angrily rebuked. "Confused. Wang Qingyang. You're confused." While rebuking this Bai Hai was a burst of violent coughing. Then, said, "Wang Qingyang, before you left the school, what did Master, his old man, tell you?" His old man had warned you from time to time that you should refrain from arrogance, not be too arrogant, and to keep in mind that there are people outside of people. As a result, this is how you follow these words that Master told you? Bai Hai was exasperated for a while. And Wang Qingyang was also being rebuked, somewhat unable to raise his head. Saying, "Senior brother admonished by." Well, Bai Hai over there, at this time, his chi was also smoothed out and then, it was slowly said. "Let's put it this way, that behavior of yours before, definitely offended that sect master. If you want to now, go to the door to make amends, the other party that will definitely not see you." As these words of Bai Hai fell, Wang Qingyang was also anxious. Hurriedly, he said, "Senior brother, then what am I going to do?" To know if one could not be forgiven by Lin Mo. In Wang Qingyang's opinion, his position as the chairman of the Magic City Art Association was also done for. We don't need to meet. Bai Hai, on the other end of the phone, slowly said. No need to meet? Wang Qingyang was a bit confused. What do you mean by that, senior brother? Mean? Oh, we can beg for a painting. Bai Hai said smilingly. Beg for paintings? Yes, that's begging for paintings. Yuan, contact the other party and ask him to beg for paintings for me. Help me talk to the other party and ask for 4 paintings. As these words fell, Wang Qingyang was a bit hesitant, but still nodded his head and agreed. And after that, was ready to give Mu Nanji a call. On the other side. Eastern Suburb 1 Villa. Mu Nanji's home. Mu Nanji, who was sitting there drinking tea, looked at Lin Mo with some resentment and said, You even lied to me before that you don't pay attention to painting exhibitions and all that, causing me to worry for nothing. To this, Lin Mo just nodded his head and said, I didn't lie to you, I really don't pay attention to painting exhibitions in these. In response, Mu Nanji rolled her eyes and said, I believed you're evil. If you don't pay attention to painting exhibitions, how do you have such a good level of Chinese painting? Just that steed drawing you just did, I feel like it's almost at the same level as old Mr. Yuan, right? For Mu Nanji's words. Lin Mo for a moment looked a little speechless. And then, opened his mouth and said, Don't you compare me with him. With that, Lin Mo just skimmed his mouth and said, Besides, if I don't pay attention to painting exhibitions, and whether the level of my country's paintings is high or not, is there any necessary relationship between the two? A sentence fell. The Mu Nanji here, on the contrary, did not know what to say. Rather, mumbled a sentence. The Mu Nanji there, but leisurely sighed. AI, but this time, Lin Mo, you are offending the Magic City's Fine Arts Association to death, especially old Mr. Wang. He is the chairman of the Fine Arts Association. If you have offended him, then you, in the future, may have some small troubles. Listening to these words, Lin Mo instantly laughed, then shook his head and said, So what? Besides, if this old man knows what he's doing, I guess it won't take long before he'll have to personally call over and come looking for me. Listening to Lin Mo's words, Mu Nanji was completely unconvinced. However, before she could say anything, the cell phone on the side, but suddenly rang. After picking it up and looking at the caller ID, Mu Nanji's expression, suddenly strange. Chapter 116, Asking for a painting? A painting, $10 million. On the cell phone. The caller ID was not someone else. Just like that, it was Wang Qingyang. At this moment Mu Nanji can be said to have a few points of confusion. The actual is actually really, was Lin Mo to say in the right way? This Wang Qingyang actually really personally come to the phone? At this moment, Mu Nanji's expression looked a little complicated and Lin Mo also glanced at Mu Nanji. The corner of his mouth gently rose with a slight smile and said, Pick it up. Aha. Mu Nanji nodded her head. Afterwards, it was to pick up the phone. The phone was connected. Hello. The moment Mu Nanji's voice rang. On the other end of the phone, Wang Qingyang's respectful voice was also the voice that rang out for it. Nanji, the senior who was with you before, is he with you now? Listening to Wang Qingyang's tone, this Mu Nanji was completely confused. To know who was Wang Qingyang? That was the chairman of the Magic City Fine Arts Association. On weekdays, in the art world of Mordor, even some of the masters have to give him some respect. But now, this Wang Qingyang was so respectful. Even addressed Lin Mo as a senior? For a moment, Mu Nanji, who was here, was shocked. In the bottom of her eyes, she also brought on a few moments of dismay. Senior? Addressing Lin Mo? In Mu Nanji's opinion that was something that could not be related to Lin Mo no matter what. But now, it was this kind of address. While being stunned in the bottom of his heart, this Mu Nanji still nodded her head and said, Grandpa Wan, Lin Mo, he's by my side. As these words of Mu Nanji fell, she clearly heard that Wang Qingyang, over there, was relieved. But what followed? It was then that a cheerful laughter was heard. Said, Ha ha. Nanjia, since Elder Lin is here, can you speak to him for me and tell him that I want to request a painting from him? As those words fell, Mu Nanji, who was there, had been dumbfounded. She heard what? Wang Changyang was going to beg for a painting with Lin Mo? This? Surely you're not joking. In spite of that, Mu Nanji did think. Just now, Lin Mo's painting of the steed picture was indeed a very good painting. But even so, it was also not yet to the point where even someone like Wang Qingyang, the bigwigs of the Magic City's art world, all had to turn to Lin Mo and come begging for a painting, right? Moreover, the words of begging for a painting obviously is saying one's own level is not as good as the other party. This moment, Mu Nanji only felt that she was not crazy. Lin Mo's level of national painting to be higher than Wang Qingyang? How was this possible? At that moment, it was swallowing her saliva and said, Wang. Grandpa Wang, you aren't kidding, right? The Mu Nanji who was here, at this time, only felt that he was a burst of dizziness. Then, just trembling, opened his mouth and said, What am I joking with you? Nanji, just leave it alone, just ask Senior Lin for me. Wang Changyang did not hesitate to say. After all, this Lin Mo, that was a patriarchal figure. There was no shame in begging for a painting from him himself. Oh, good. Said. Mu Nanji just took the cell phone away from her ear covering the receiver. She looked at Lin Mo and said, Lin Mo, Grandpa Wang's phone, he said he wants to talk to you here. To beg for a painting. Mu Nanji hesitated and still used the word beg for a painting. To this, Lin Mo just smiled. Then, taking a sip of tea, squinting his eyes, he said, Begging for a painting? Under the corners of his mouth rose. Lin Mo calmly said, You reply to him that it's fine to beg for paintings, $10 million a pair. This time, Mu Nanji was shocked. $10 million? Lin Mo, this price of yours, isn't it a bit too high? This Grandpa Wang, at least he has also instructed me, count me half teacher. If you set this price, isn't it a bit too high? Too high? Lin Mo tilted his head and said, I think it's okay, just follow this price and tell him. If he is willing to continue to beg, then he can continue to come and beg for the painting. This. Mu Nanji looked at Lin Mo's attitude. It was also not good to continue, to say something could only nod her head and said, That's fine, I'll follow this price and talk to Grandpa Wang's side. Said, took back the phone and said, Grandpa Wang, I just asked Lin Mo, he said that if you want to ask for paintings, that's fine, but the price is $10 million a pair. After this sentence fell, Wang Changyang, who was there, was completely dumbfounded. $10 million a pair? This price. Even if one knew that Lin Mo's painting skills were at the level of a grandmaster. But, after all, the fame was not obvious. This price was just a few points too high. Even. It was quite a bit more expensive than a painting by some popular national painting masters. Nanji, are you sure you're not joking with Grandpa? In the end, Wang Qingyang took a deep breath and said, No, it is indeed this price. Mu Nanji shook her head. And immediately, this Wang Qingyang's heart was somewhat annoyed. Somewhat angrily, he said, No. $10 million for a painting? Isn't this asking for money at exorbitant prices? I came with my sincerity, but you guys here, you're actually asking for a lot of money? Wang Qingyang's tone was filled with anger. In his opinion, this behavior of Lin Mo was tantamount to robbing by fire. Lin Mo, on the other hand, narrowed his eyes slightly, listening to the voice that was leaking out from the earpiece of the cell phone because it was too loud. It was slowly saying, robbing by fire? In that case, you tell him, now, this one painting has increased in price. $50 million a pair, love to buy or not? Lin Mo said without hesitation. 5. At this moment, Mu Nanji's eyes widened. $50 million a pair? This price was already not a rambling price. Simply, it's a lion's mouth. Swallowing, Mu Nanji was a little hesitant. After all, if this price is reported, she is really afraid that the elderly Wang Qingyang. Can breath did not gasp back, two legs stirred fainted. It's fine, just say it directly. Lin Mo said calmly. Okay. Mu Nanji sighed, helplessly, just said to the other end of the phone. Grandpa Wang, just now Lin Mo said that the price of his painting has gone up, now, it's $50 million apiece. A sentence fell. On the other end of the phone, there was a dead silence. Wang Qingyang's face was suffocating red. $50 million? This. Even the reddest national painting master in the country. For a single painting, they can't even ask for this much, right? Chapter 117, 50 million a painting? I want 4. Wang Qingyang's face, suffocated, was red. In the bottom of his heart, anger burned. What does this Lin Mo mean? He's playing with himself. Even if he does have the skills of a grandmaster, so what? He was still just a brat. He lowered his stature and asked him for a painting, which was already a step. We all went along with the trend, each side retreated half a step. And then, he'll punish himself with 3 cups, then the matter would be over. But now, what does this mean? At first, the price was $10 million. He could put up with it. But now, for 50 million? This is making a monkey out of him, isn't it? After holding his tongue for half a day, Wang Qingyang spat out a sentence. Nanji, tell him not to go too far. In response, Mu Nanji opened her mouth, still smiling bitterly, and said. Just now Lin Mo has also said, is this price, let you love to buy it. A sentence fell. On the phone, only a busy tone remained. On the other end of the phone, Wang Qingyang's breathing appeared ragged. His eyes were red for a while. $50 million for a painting? You're making fun of me, he said. Wang Qingyang dialed the phone of his senior brother. On the other side, inside the second villa, Lin Mo sat there with a few light smiles on his face. Saying, the phone was hung up? Well, and listening to Grandpa Wang's voice, between his words. The tone seems to be very annoyed and indignant, estimated state, not very good. I am afraid that he, because of some of your operations just now, led to the whole person fainted. He is now old, once he faints, cannot be rescued, then you will be in trouble. To this, Lin Mo smiled and said. It's fine, this old man, he can't die yet. Said. Lin Mo just stood up and said. Well, let's go, why don't I teach you how to go about painting national paintings? Hearing this, Mu Nanji immediately put everything that had just happened behind her. The expression was filled with excitement. She still recognized Lin Mo's painting skills. Just on the point of painting skill alone, Mu Nanji felt that Lin Mo's strength was no less than Wang Qingyang. When she remembered how Wang Qingyang had addressed Lin Mo earlier, she thought that Lin Mo's strength was no less than that of Wang Qingyang. In the bottom of this Mu Nanji's heart was bored a thought that somewhat seemed absurd. Could it be that Lin Mo's painting skills are still above Grandpa Wang's? If that's the case, is it possible that Lin Mo's painting skills have already reached the level of a master? Mu Nanji's heart murmured in thinking of this. Mu Nanji also just hurriedly, somewhat excitedly nodded her head and said. Good Then I'll follow you and learn how to go about painting Chinese paintings. Laughing, the two of them also came inside the study. The 4 treasures of the study were spread out flat, and Lin Mo lifted his brush and began to instruct Mu Nanji. And on the other side, Jiangnan Province. An old man in his 70s sat on a rocking chair. In his hand, he was holding a cell phone. The picture on it, just like that, was the one that Wang Qingyang had sent to him earlier, the steed picture. At this moment, this old man's expression appeared to be full of exuberance. Grandmaster level painting. A masterclass national painting. It's a pity that there are only photos, and I haven't seen the real thing. If I could witness the real thing, I'm afraid my attainments in Chinese painting would be a few points deeper. Muttering under his breath the old man's expression, full of excitement. And then, is continued, murmuring, saying. However, as long as I wait for that old kid, Wang Qingyang, to be able to beg me for a pair of patriarchal national paintings, Then, the bottleneck that has been troubling me, I'm afraid that I will be able to smoothly break through and step into the level of the Grandmaster. This old man's expression was filled with excitement. And at this time, his cell phone, but is also ringing. Looking at the caller ID. This old man's face, instantly, was piled with a frilly smile. He said, hee. It seems that this Qing Yang kid begged me to paint. Good. It's really great. The old man smiled. After connecting the phone, he opened his mouth and asked, Hey, Qing Yang, you got the painting, how much did it cost? As the words fell after that, Wang Changyang on the other end of the phone, at this time, his face, was already green and purple. Immediately, it was gritting his teeth and said, Senior brother, don't mention this matter. That guy is really too ignorant of the rules. Just a painting, to charge $50 million. As the words fell after that, the old man was taken aback. $50 million? This was not a small amount of money. But then, he was the one who slowly spoke. $50 million. You buy it for me. In addition, buy me 4 of them straight down. To know. Right now, Lin Mo's reputation is not obvious. Once the reputation is up, then this $50 million, it could just really be worth a fortune. And just as these words fell, Wang Qingyang, who was there, was all confused by his own senior brother, this decision. He was planning to persuade his own senior brother to give up seeking the painting. But now, how is it that his own senior brother is really firm on this idea? The first shot is to ask for 4 paintings? Isn't it a bit too much? After all, Lin Mo's paintings are not small numbers. 1 painting, $50 million. 4 paintings. That's $200 million. Senior brother, calm down. This guy's paintings, they're not worth this much. And this sentence just fell. Elder brother's voice was for it to ring out. You're calling me. In the end, are you the senior brother, or am I now? Still not worth this price? What kind of character do you think the other party is? That is the existence of the national painting master level painting skills. Even if he's not famous now, he will be in the future. At that time, what level of price do you think his paintings can be sold at? These words came out. Wang Changyang was stunned. Yes. He himself just. Why was he so confused? It's only $50 million. Investing in a not yet famous patriarch, it was super valuable. Even with his age, when the time comes, there will be a wave of hype. What young master, talented painter, and a series of other names. At that time, not to mention a painting $50 million. Even if it was auctioned for $87 million, it wouldn't be a problem. Yes, senior brother, I understand. Well, you make the call. On the other side. Inside the study. Mu Nanji was studying behind Lin Mo at this time. At the same time, in her heart, she was secretly deciding. Later on, when it was over, she would go give Wang Changyang a call and apologize to him. After all, the other party was at least the chairman of the art association. And he had instructed himself in the past. If he had offended him to death. If he wanted to continue in the art world in the future. Or to get guidance from the other party. Then without a doubt, it would be as difficult as climbing up to heaven. However, just at this time, Mu Nanji's cell phone suddenly rang. Once she saw that it was Wang Qingyang calling, Mu Nanji's heart was frightened. After all, in her opinion, the other party is here to raise hell. With a bitter smile, she took the call, prepared to receive a reprimand. However, the imaginary rebuke did not ring. Instead, there was a burst of soft whispers. Nanji, help me apologize to that friend of yours, it was my fault just now. I'm so old and still so impulsive, this really shouldn't be. The moment these words came out, Mu Nanji was confused. Chapter 118, he is a national painting master. What's the situation? Elder Wang Changyang, calling over, not for accountability? Instead, he's apologize? This kind of operation is really the Mu Nanji to the shock. This situation. The situation is not right. Here Mu Nanji a burst of confusion. Originally, She thought that the old man came to the phone and was prepared to come to accountability. Result: the other party actually was calling to apologize? This. Mu Nanji was a bit dumbfounded. But then also came back to her senses. Hurriedly, said. Grandpa Wang, you cannot say so, you are the elders. When you just now, scolding 2 sentences that is also should be. Hearing this, Wang Qingyang but hastily, said. Don't. Nanji, you can't say that. Just now it was indeed, the old man I was senile. As an elder, I should be leading by example, but I'm leaning on my old age. I'll tell you what, when you and your friend are free, I'll invite the 2 of you to dinner, and apologize to the 2 of you in person. A few words fell. Mu Nanji was scared half to death. Hurriedly, that is to say. Grandpa Wang, you can't do this. This is exactly what happened. This old man actually said, want to invite her and Lin Mo dinner, face to face to apologize? At this time, Wang Qingyang on the other end of the phone, but also continued to say. Nanji, that friend of yours, can you still be next to him now? Oh, he is still there. Mu Nanji hurriedly said. Listening to these words, the old man there, his face also revealed a smile. Hurriedly, he said. In that case, then you help me tell him. $50 million a painting, I'll buy it. Mu Nanji was shocked. $50 million a painting, bought? At this time, Mu Nanji's breathing was ragged with a somewhat unbelieving tone. She said. Grandpa Wang, you are not kidding? $50 million a painting, you said, you bought? Although Mu Nanji is not clear, the market is now a specific price of calligraphy and painting. But she herself is judging. Currently on the market, 50 million a painting. Only those top masters, or deceased masters of calligraphy and painting. Only those top experts, or the late calligraphy and painting experts, can sell the calligraphy and painting to this price. And Lin Mo. It is obvious that it is not the top everyone. But Wang Qingyang actually intends to buy it? This. Mu Nanji was a bit confused and couldn't believe it. While Wang Qingyang, who was there, calmly nodded his head and said. Yes, that's right, I'm buying it. Also, it's not just 1, it's 6. Inside these 6 panels. 4 panels were the ones that his own senior brother wanted. The remaining 2 paintings, on the other hand, they were the ones that one wanted. Not only, just because Lin Mo's paintings would increase in value once they became famous. More than that, it was because Lin Mo's paintings contained master-level workmanship and skill. And these 2 paintings were able to show and comprehend for themselves a higher level of painting skills and techniques. And here, Mu Nanji took a deep breath. $50 million? 6 paintings? Mu Nanji really felt that she was a little dizzy. Lin Mo's paintings. Is it really worth that much? Even Wang Qingyang was prepared to buy 6 paintings for $50 million? Mu Nanji swallowed her saliva. Then, somewhat trembling, she said. Grandpa Wang, can I ask why you want to buy 6 of Lin Mo's paintings? After all, the price of this one painting is already $50 million. With this sentence falling afterward. Wang Qingyang, who was there, was slightly silent but then, still slowly spoke. I can tell you, this $50 million a painting of mine, I still picked up the pieces. What? At this moment, Mu Nanji was shocked. $50 million a painting, or picking up a leak? This. In an instant, Mu Nanji was even more curious about why Lin Mo's paintings were so valuable. Hurriedly, is continued to ask. Grandpa Wang, why is this? Wang Qingyang on the other end of the phone, with a bitter expression, said. Because, Lin Mo is a national painting master. Boom. A sentence fell. It directly explained clearly why Lin Mo's painting was so valuable. And likewise, it was also ruthless, causing Mu Nanji's heart to fall deeply into shock. National painting master. What kind of existence is this? On the road of national painting, reached the peak of the existence. Lin Mo is actually a national painting master? Mu Nanji looked towards Lin Mo, who was at the back, looking at his cell phone. In the bottom of her eyes, she was filled with shock and complexity. Then it was swallowing her saliva and said. But Grandpa Wang, just now in the exhibition hall. I feel that between Lin Mo's painting and yours, there's not much difference. But how is he a national painting master? Listening to these words, Wang Chengyang, who was there, laughed bitterly for a while and shook his head. This is, in fact, just your own realm not being enough. The gap in painting skills between me and him is still very huge. If you were in the realm of Chinese painting, it would be enough. You would have realized that Elder Lin had brought the whole horse to life. Whereas my horse is nothing more than an empty form without its spirit. Listening to these words, Mu Nanji was also stunned, as if she had understood. A burst of head nodding. Afterwards, it was also the same that she opened her mouth and said, then, Grandpa Wang, I'll ask for you first? He. Good. Wang Chengyang, who was here for a while, just nodded his head. Afterwards, the two of them hung up the phone. The phone just hung up. This Mu Nanji was full of seriousness, came to Lin Mo's front. With a serious face, looked at Lin Mo. Lin Mo, who was playing with his cell phone, put down his cell phone at the moment. He was startled by Mu Nanji. Said, I'm going. Nanji, what are you doing? Slapping his chest, Lin Mo looked at Mu Nanji and couldn't help but say. And at this time, Mu Nanji, serious but with a few points of grudges, said. You actually lied to me before, saying that you don't know anything about art. Just now, Grandpa Wang was all but calling me, saying that you are, in fact, a national painting master. Hearing this, Lin Mo, who was there, looked a little embarrassed. After touching his nose, he still couldn't help but say. Hey, what's there to say? Shaking his head. After that, Lin Mo then just slowly said. What, that old man called you, is he ready to buy the painting? Well, $50 million for 6 paintings. Once these words came out, Lin Mo, however, also skimmed his mouth and said. This old man, he's good at taking advantage. Tell him that 6 paintings is no problem, and tell him to call the money over first. I won't accept any deposits or anything like that. The full payment for the 6 paintings must be called to me immediately. Then, I'll try talking to Grandpa Wang first. At these words, Mu Nanji was a bit hesitant. But still, she took out her cell phone and dialed the number. Chapter 119 6 paintings, 6 horses. Wang Qingyang's efficiency was still very good. 6 paintings. $300 million. But it was after an hour, that is, it arrived. During this hour, Lin Mo was also giving a demonstration to Mu Nanji, explaining. And Mu Nanji, who was there, was also learning very seriously. She is still very fond of Chinese painting. Looking at the $300 million that arrived on his cell phone. Lin Mo then skimmed his mouth. And then, also shaking his head, he said. This old man, $300 million to buy 6 of my paintings. TSK, this abacus, it's really loud. After skimming. Lin Mo also mused. And then, it was to Mu Nanji, who was there, that he said. Nanji, let's put it this way, you help me fetch 6 sheets of rice paper over. Mu Nanji, who was here, listened to this and nodded. And then, Lin Mo just calmed down. The brush in his hand fell. Not long after. On these 6 sheets of rice paper, there were 6 galloping steeds of different sizes and demeanor. All of a sudden, they appeared on it. Aha! Alright, just these 6 horses. Lin Mo looked at the 6 horses and a smile appeared on his face. As for Mu Nanji, who was there, looking at the 6 horses on the rice paper, she was a bit confused, saying, Lin Mo, are you just going to sell these 6 horses to Grandpa Wang? Or else? Lin Mo was a bit puzzled and glanced at Mu Nanji, who was there. But this. Mu Nanji opened her mouth and wanted to say something else. In her opinion, since Lin Mo had received $300 million, then at the very least, there had to be a few decent paintings, right? But now, Lin Mo actually only drew 6 paintings of horses with different demeanors? This. What, you think these 6 horses are sketchy? Lin Mo smiled and said. Listening to these words, Mu Nanji, who was there, then just nodded her head. And to this, Lin Mo, who was here, was smiling, shaking his head. These 6 paintings are actually not sketchy at all. If that old man was knowledgeable, when he saw these 6 horses, he wouldn't have said a single word. Because these 6 horses, alone, are already worth his price. Saying that, Lin Mo was on his cell phone, placing an order for a same-city express delivery, having someone take these 6 paintings and send them over. With the paintings sent out afterward, Mu Nanji, who was there, but sighed quietly and said, "If I can also have your kind of national painting skills, it would be good." At this time, the bottom of Mu Nanji's eyes, but vaguely, there are a few points of sadness. Lin Mo, on the other hand, glanced at Mu Nanji and said, "What's wrong? A look of sadness?" Listening to Lin Mo's words, this Mu Nanji, shaking her head helplessly, said, "Over at home, I was given a task target for the first half of the year. It wants me to earn enough 80 billion in 4 months. 4 months, earn enough 8 billion? Lin Mo's expression had a few moments of surprise. As for Mu Nanji, who was there, he was helpless and laughed bitterly. "Yes, 4 months' time, earn enough for 8 billion. 8 billion for our company right now, in terms of half a year, it's still able to be accomplished, but in 4 months' time, it's almost impossible. I've done some calculations before, even if our company is running at full capacity. 4 months is the most, can earn 57 billion. The distance from the target, then, is still short of 23 billion. At this moment, Mu Nanji's expression was filled with helplessness. While at this moment, Lin Mo was slightly contemplating. Afterward, he opened his mouth and spoke. "How much money do you currently, in your own account, have available?" Contemplating, Lin Mo opened his mouth and asked. And listening to Lin Mo's words, Mu Nanji, who was there, hesitated slightly. Afterward, it still said, "If I have my own account, I can almost have more than $100 million to use." More than 100 million? Lin Mo pondered slightly in the bottom of his heart. Then, he said, "I have a friend who recommended a stock to me. You can watch and buy it yourself, whether it's a loss or a profit, I don't know." Lin Mo, who was here, said calmly. He was prepared to give Mu Nanji recommend the Corning battery. After all, this stock in the next 4 months, that is a multiple of the crazy rise. Mu Nanji only needs to invest a portion of the funds. Don't say to make up for the shortfall in funds. Even if it is to earn tens of billions of dollars, that is not still easy? Stocks? Right. Lin Mo nodded his head. Afterwards, it was the name of Corning battery that was written down. Corning battery. Right, if you want to buy it, do it before it's too late. After 2 days, it won't be easy to buy this stock again. Lin Mo opened his mouth and spoke. Okay. Mu Nanji nodded. What followed? Lin Mo didn't stay at Mu Nanji's house for much longer. He drank 2 cups of tea and waited until after 4 in the afternoon. Then it was back to his own villa. And at the same time, on the other side, Thompson won. Wang Xingyang looked at the 6 paintings in front of him. The expression was not very pretty. On his side, the senior brother who had come from Sunan. On the other hand, he was full of excitement, looking at the 6 paintings in front of him. Good paintings. Good paintings. Worthy of being a grandmaster-level painter. The senior brother here. At this time, there was a burst of, for which he marveled. With some words falling after. Here Wang Xingyang, on the other hand, was darkening his face, saying, "Senior brother. This Lin Mo, it's just too much. I've spent $300 million. As a result, the 6 paintings he sent me only had 1 horse inside each one? This isn't bullying." Wang Xingyang was a burst of annoyance over this. After all, inside each of these 6 paintings, there was only 1 horse. This was, without a doubt, a thing that made Wang Xingyang a million times more irritated. While listening to Wang Xingyang's words, the senior brother who was there, however, had a frown on his face. He said, "Xingyang, must not be rude." The senior brother shouted angrily under his breath. But, elder brother. Before he could continue to say anything, this senior brother, however, waved his hand and said, "These 6 paintings, although on the surface, it looks like there are only 6 horses. But if you look at them together as a whole, they are the same horse. However, each horse has many different emotions. Different emotions, different states, are in these 6 horses, embodied in the fullest. It can be said that although these 6 horses are simple, they contain the skills of a grandmaster. The value inside can be too much higher than the unusual 6 paintings. Your $300 million, it's totally worth it. Listening to his own senior brother said so. This one Qingyang was stunned. And then, is here, carefully looking at these 6 horses. The whole person's heart, at this time, was also quiet. Slowly, began to ponder and savor.